Good evening and welcome to the Town Board meeting of December 17th, 2024. If you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and if we could remain standing for a moment of silence as we remember and pray for the Madison, Wisconsin community after the tragic Abundant Life Christian school shootings there yesterday. Thank you to our honor guard. If you could all sit down, please. Thank you. Amen.
Honor guard, dismissed.
Borrow this a second. Thank you. All right. Introductions to my right.
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Luciana Howitt, Councilwoman.
Supervisor Ed Lachterman.
Deputy Supervisor Sergio Esposito.
Patrick Murphy, Councilman.
Susan Siegel, Councilwoman.
Adam Rodriguez, Town Attorney.
All right.
Stole my mic.
Luckily, there's a lot of police officers in the room.
Call the cops.
All right. So just for a report for the town, I just want to run through a few events that we had over the last 2 weeks. We had some great community response, and it was so fantastic to see so many people. On the 7th, we had our Holiday Lights Parade, which was great. We had an abundance of floats. We had people all over the place. It was really, it's one of the great things that Yorktown does through our Parks and Recreation Department. And there was a tremendous amount of outreach there. So very happy to have had everyone who attended. And I'm sure if you couldn't make it there, you watched it on the cable station. If not, it is available on our public access station. Then this past Saturday, we had a lot going on, actually. We opened another new business. Shrub Oak Smiles had their ribbon cutting over by Novecento. It's a new dental office. We had a holiday gift show at the Albert A. Cappellini Community and Cultural Center. And then prior to that, we also had a card show there, baseball card show. And apparently they have plans for another show in the spring, both, actually two shows, one a craft show and one a comic book show, Yorktown's own little mini Comic-Con. So hopefully that goes off well. And we ended the night on Saturday in town with the Shrub Oak Christmas tree lighting or holiday tree lighting that was started by Tom Diana 3 years ago. And the tree was generously donated by some of the Shrub Oak families over there. And it was really nice. We had the Golden Apple Chorus singing. There was hot chocolate being passed around and hot apple cider donuts. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. And then on Sunday, the Sons of the American Legion completed their ham drive and toy drive for the St. Mary's Food Bank and for their Christmas gift wish list. And today we drove over 30 hams and I think it was another 14 turkeys plus a nice trunk load of toys and gifts for the children in need and some gift cards for the older kids. Upcoming this year, Hanukkah and Christmas fall on the same day. The first night of Hanukkah is Christmas Day. The Chabad of Yorktown will be having their Hanukkah Fun Day. That will actually be on the fourth night, the 29th. Yep, 12, 29, 24 from 3 to 4. followed by their menorah lighting. There's no charge, all are welcome. That's at the Capellini Center as well, the old sixth grade school for us old Yorktowners. And, you know, I will, would love to wish everyone, because this will be our last meeting, a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, and a happy and healthy New Year to everyone. Thank you.
I just want to add to that on January 11th, between 9 and 11, I think that I'm going to ask this town board, including Diana, maybe we'll do the polar plunge. It's located at Sparkle Lake. You can donate at Friends of Parks and Rec. Sergio and I have done it before. Sergio seems to do it often. Sergio? I go in full suited, but it is still great. And if it's a night like this where it's not too cold, it's worth it. The first time I did it, we actually had to break the ice on the water. So that was not healthy at all. But they do say cold bath and cold plunges are fine, and they're good for your nervous system. And this is one for the town. So maybe instead of going in the cold bath, we'll go into Sparkle Lake. And again, it's January 11th from 9 to 11. And again, the Friends of Parks put it on. And then on January 15th, at 7 p.m. and join the Yorktown Youth Council. Did you know that we have a wonderful youth council here in town? They'll be here for the grades of 8 through 12, and it's run by Liz Talbert, who's absolutely magic. And it is a place where not only they can make a difference for the community, but they can discuss what happens through the ages of leaving middle school, entering the high school, and the challenges that maybe they face, maybe the ableism that they're seeing or the mental health crisis that's being covered up in certain ways, and kind of bring it back into the community so that we can regrow new things. Ask for details online. There is an online. Oh, you can follow them on Instagram at YY_council. That's at YY_council. And it's Liz at allianceforsafekids.org. Liz at allianceforsafekids.org. And I don't know if you can lean into this, but we'll put it up on our town website.
Already is.
It is on the town website? Even better. So go on our town website. If you're 8th grader all the way up to your seniors, got nothing to do, this is something great for them to do. Not only will it make them feel better being part of a community, but they'll make a difference in the greater scheme of things. Like I tell my kids, they got to get a job. So can't get a job, you start helping out.
Thanks, Lou.
You're welcome.
Serge?
All right, so we had a few other grand openings. We had actually Homer Rich Eye Care, Yorktown Family Eye Care relocated. They're right across the street in the barn. I call it the barn building. I think it's 2050 Sawmill River Road.
I just say next to the big purple tree that Pure.
Next to the big purple tree. They got they tripled their the size of their business, the size of their floor space. They remodeled. It's really cool. Really nice people. Jennifer and Michael Ferry. Very involved in our community, very involved in the sports for our youth. Just great people. You need eyeglasses, you need an eye exam, you got dry eye, they do all of this stuff there.
And they're great with kids.
They're great with kids too, yeah. You get on over there. Yorktown varsity basketball is back, and although I believe we weren't supposed to perform well the other day, we rolled over Ossining. It was actually a great game and a lot of excitement. We did have our small business Saturday Blitz, right, where we went to the mall and we had about 3 or 4 stores lined up that we wanted to promote for the holidays, to shop local, be local, live local, that kind of stuff. And we got there, we ended up, our phones were going off the hook because people figured out we were in the building and we were like, can you come here, can you come here? So I think we ended up hitting like 9 or 10 places.
I think 9,
I think it
definitely.
was 9.
Awesome.
So shop local, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of niche stores at the mall. All our small businesses here can use our help, so get on over there. Did we ever mention Better Sugaring as their grand opening? Because I think last week we couldn't, right? It was
I don't think we did.
There's another grand opening right here on Commerce. It's called Better Sugaring. They do hair removal.
It's hair removal using sugar instead of wax.
They almost got Sergio good.
Yeah. I think Ed was like trying to sign up, but Dunkin' Donuts had a remodel right here in the center of town, so the place it looks really nice. We had the Senior Hall of Fame. You want to talk about that?
Well, just congratulations to Rosemary Panio, who was nominated by myself and Diana Quast, and she was nominated and then brought into the Westchester County Senior Hall of Fame. Great job, Rosemary. She does so much for the town, has been leading our Senior Advisory Committee, as well as many other things. Quite an extensive resume.
See, Sarah's, I've been preoccupied on a lot of things lately, but
Yes.
still working a little
There you
bit.
go. Better than mine.
And lastly, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a Happy Kwanzaa, and a Festivus for the rest of us. All right? I want to just cover everybody, all right? Thank you very much, and have a great holiday season.
All right, I'll make mine short. Addition to the grand reopens, La Valletta opened up in the mall. And then I just want to put a shout out to the Garden Club. They're the ones that decorated, the Main Street, Commerce Street, going right down the middle. And they're always looking for volunteers. And if you want to donate, you could donate to the Garden Club of Yorktown.org. Got you, Sarah. But everybody else, please, happy holidays. Stay safe, okay? I'm going to make it short. We got a big night ahead of us.
Okay, thank you. All right. Again, just want to wish everybody a very happy holiday and all of the very best for the new year. We're actually starting the new year a little late because the first meeting isn't until January 7th because of the way the calendar works. Just on 2 agenda items, I just want to express my disappointment that 2 items that I had wanted to put on the agenda for tonight have not been put on. One was to finally get the RFP out for the field home. It still isn't ready. I hope that there won't be any more delay, and at January 7th, we will get that thing in motion. Also pulled at the last minute was a discussion and a referral on changes dealing with water meters, both residential meters and commercial meters. The town has been discussing at least the residential meters since last February, and it's just been delay, and we've been losing money every day that the delay has gone on, and that won't get resolved until January 7th. So I'm just disappointed about that. And I'm sorry, but I won't be joining you for the polar plunge. I'm gonna pull my age on that one. Okay, thank you. And
You can go for the hot cocoa. I just want to name one more before we set off to the final town board agenda for the year. On the 21st, the Grange is hosting a kids craft. If you pre-register, it's from I think I got it from 11 to 3, and it's doing anywhere from pine cone glitters to Hanukkah door hangers. It is taking pictures with Santa and then also the dressed up goats and farm animals. It is $15 if you pre-register. It's $20 if you are walking in, and that box can always use a little extra money for how much they've done for this community and to keep them going. So if you're looking for fun things to do to kick off the holiday week when our kids have no school, this is something to start with, and it's right here in our backyard. That's how lucky we are. So the Grange on the 21st, 11 to 3, and then you'll be all ready to come to the polar plunge.
All right, now just to address what Councilwoman Siegel brought up, I'm a little disappointed we weren't ready with the RFP also, but there are some tweaks that need to happen to make sure it goes out right. But as I explained to you earlier, in the interest of transparency, when I cannot have my head of water distribution here, I don't think it's appropriate to have a conversation regarding changing prices, talking about the meters, talking about all of that, without him being able to answer the questions that may be a little too technical. And I think that's really important for our public to be able to have that Q&A, and that's the whole purpose of it. So, I feel very strongly about putting it, and he's on schedule for January 7th. And we will move it forward, but we're going to do it the right way so it's transparent to everyone. Thank you. Oh, and I want to give one shout out to another young man who might start into a business, but Ryan Sokol, who started a little Instagram page doing some cooking stuff, and really nice little thing. He lives off of Gomer Street, so good luck on that, Ryan, and I'll be following the page and see what you're making. All right. I will now go to presentations. Chief Noble.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, and always a pleasure to be here tonight for a happy occasion. And tonight we're actually announcing to the public and celebrating 4 promotions that we made in 2024, and they are made the rank of sergeant, and 1 was assigned to detective sergeant, overseeing our detective division. So I'd like to introduce them to you, to the public tonight. Before I do so, I'd like to thank the Yorktown Police Department Honor Guard for leading us in this evening. Very proud of the unit. It's something we started back up a few years ago because of interest in the police department, and under the leadership of Lieutenant Foley and Sergeant Tillistrand and retired Officer Angel Garcia. I was happy that we got this going, and I think you could see the result. They really represent us in a fine manner and in a high regard of respect. So thank you very much for being out here tonight. All right, and with that, I'd like to introduce our first promotion, and that would be Sergeant Michael Tillistrand. I'd ask him to come up and join us. Michael Tillistrand is a proud graduate of Yorktown High School, class of 2001, where he was a member of the school band and a captain on the wrestling team. Mike proceeded to attend Valley Forge Military College, where he joined the Army Reserve Officer Training Corps and the Early Commissioning Program. While at Valley Forge, he became a captain in the Corps of Cadets, along with being a member of the wrestling team, regimental band, and cadet in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. He achieved multiple school awards and became chapter treasurer for the National Honor Society, ultimately resulting in graduating with an Associate's of Arts and History and being commissioned as an Army officer in the spring of 2003. Michael continued his education with a transfer to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. While attending, Mike joined the school rugby team and served in the North Carolina Army National Guard until graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in History in the spring of 2005. If you got any eligibility left, Belichick's the coach now, so you may be able to play some football over there. After completing a training course to become a qualified infantry officer, Michael returned home and joined the New York Police Department, the NYPD, on July 10, 2006. After the academy, Michael served on patrol in the Bronx as a member of the 4-8 precinct, where he was awarded 2 Excellent Police Duty Badges. On July 28, 2011, Michael transferred to the Pelham Manor Police Department, where he served as a patrol officer. On October 29, 2014, Michael transferred to the Yorktown Police Department, where he has served on multiple shifts as a patrol officer in the Patrol Division, and he has been awarded 2 certificates of commendation during his time. In September of 2023, Michael was assigned as a school resource officer in the Lakeland Central School District at the George Washington Elementary School. And then on April 15, 2024, Michael was promoted to sergeant and transferred back to the Patrol Division. While a member of the department, Mike has completed training in the Basic School Resource Officer course, Instructor Development course, Breath Analysis Operator course, along with a multitude of basic, intermediate, and advanced Federal Emergency Management Agency and Incident Command System courses. Michael is currently serving at the rank of Major in the New York Army National Guard. He has served as a commissioned officer in the United States Army since 2003 and a service member since September 11, 2001, completing successful overseas deployments in support of Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Spartan Shield. Also, Sergeant Tillistrand conducted domestic deployment in support of FEMA's Homeland Response Force, Region 2, as the State Operations Officer. Sergeant Tillistrand has acquired extensive experience in multiple successful leadership roles, from a junior company grade officer to senior field grade officer in platoon, company, battalion, brigade, and division level of assignments. Sergeant Tillistrand has completed Infantry Officer Basic Course, the Infantry Mortar Leader Course, the Basic Airborne Course, Maneuver Captain's Career Course, Intermediate Leader Education Course, Common Core, and is currently completing an Advanced Operations course with the Command and General Staff College. He has been recognized and awarded 9 Personal Meritorious Commendation and Achievement Medals. Mike currently lives in the town of Yorktown with his wife, Nicole, and children who are here tonight, Mikey, Aubrey, Charlie, Willow, and Charlie. Mike's parents, Margie and Bill, also currently reside in Yorktown, too. And with that, I would expect a very, very big round of applause for Sergeant Mike Tillistrand. For both his service to our country and to our community. And at this time, I'd ask the Tillerstrand family to come up on stage and join us. Mike is going to be sworn in by Town Clerk Diana Quast. And pinning his badge upon his chest will be Mike's wife, Nicole Tillerstrand. Come on up, guys. You can step up over there.
Nice hat.
I saw him.
I state your name.
I, Michael Tillerstrand,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
Sergeant in the Yorktown Police Department
Sergeant in the Yorktown Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, it's fine. Thank you for your service. Congratulations. Hi, guys. Don't forget the cupcakes in the back.
And pinning Sergeant Tillerstrand will be his wife, Nicole Tillerstrand.
I want to take anyone's time up. I appreciate the opportunity. I want to thank the town board, thank the administration, thank my fellow officers and supervisors for helping me transition into the position. Most of all, I'd like to thank my wife, Nicole, my children, and my parents, Margie and Bill. I appreciate all your support. It's been very difficult, but I appreciate it. It's a dream come true, and I look forward to supporting the town and serving the town faithfully.
At this time, I'd ask that Yorktown Police Department Sergeant Jack Doherty please join me at stage. Jack Doherty attended Lakeland High School, where he played football and lacrosse, serving as a captain on both teams. He graduated in 2009 and attended Marist College, where he played lacrosse, was also a captain on that team, and graduated in 2013 with a degree in history. Jack later earned his master's degree in public administration with a concentration in ethical leadership from Marist College. Jack started his law enforcement career in the NYPD in 2014 and worked patrol in the 2-5 precinct. Jack then transferred to Yorktown in 2016. Since joining the Yorktown Police Department, Jack has served as a firearms instructor, defensive tactics instructor, active shooter response instructor, field training officer, emergency manager, and drone operator. Jack has also been the recipient of 2 Excellent Police Duty Awards. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Sergeant Jack Doherty. At this time, I'd ask Katie Doherty to please join us on stage. She'll be pinning her husband, Jack, and will stand by him as he takes the oath from Town Clerk Diana Quast.
Just don't hurt him.
I know.
No, do it.
I state your name.
I, Jack Doherty,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of
Sergeant in the Yorktown Police Department
Sergeant in the Yorktown Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And once again, pinning Sergeant Doherty is his wife, Katie.
keep it short too. Just want to first of all thank my wife Katie, who put up with me putting a lot of hours in studying for the sergeant's test and was very supportive. Thank Chief Noble and the lieutenants and all the bosses in Yorktown for having their faith in me to help give me this position. And just want to thank the town board for always being supportive. And this is the best job, and I'm just going to keep doing the best I can to keep this town safe. Thank you.
At this time, I'd ask Sergeant Thomas Murphy to please join me on stage. Thomas Murphy attended and graduated New Rochelle High School, where he played both baseball and hockey, and he graduated in June of 2003. He then attended Monmouth University, graduating in 2008 with a bachelor's degree in business administration. He was hired by the Pelham Manor Police Department on January 9th, 2017. While working in Pelham Manor, Sergeant Murphy was a field training officer, helping to train new hires. On April 26, 2021, Sergeant Murphy would subsequently be hired by the Yorktown Police Department. While working in Yorktown, Sergeant Murphy continued to work as a field training officer, training new hires, as well as being assigned as their primary field training officer for multiple officers. Sergeant Murphy's father, Anthony Murphy, who's with us tonight, was in law enforcement for 41 years, retiring from the New Rochelle Police Department as Deputy Commissioner. He will be here tonight pinning his son, Thomas, and I would ask the Murphy family to please join us on stage, and let's have a nice round of applause for Sergeant Thomas Murphy. At this time, please join Town Clerk Diana Quast to be sworn in.
Come on up.
Also joining Thomas, his wife Nicole, son Anthony, daughter Isabella.
Cuties.
I, Thomas Murphy,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
Sergeant in the Yorktown
oh,
Police Department,
Sergeant in the Yorktown Police Department,
according to the best of your ability.
according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Thank you very much.
You played at Monmouth? Tom, you played at Monmouth?
No, not Mama.
Lovely family.
All right, you're going to get pinned now. Well done.
All right, I'll also keep it short. Just want to thank Chief Noble, all my lieutenants, all my supervisors, all my coworkers. I moved here a couple years ago, and basically Yorktown, it's a great place to live. It's a great place to work. It's a great community. Everyone on the town board, just thank you, everyone. I look forward to this opportunity, just continuing to grow, and also just my parents, my lovely wife, Nicole, and my 2 kids. I love you guys. Thank you, everyone.
At this time, I'd ask Detective Sergeant Sam Sansone to please join me on stage. Detective Sergeant Sansone was born and raised in Yonkers, New York. He attended Salesian High School in New Rochelle, and during his senior year, moved to Yorktown with his parents and brother, who was a retired New York State Trooper. After graduating high school, Detective Sergeant Sansone attended Sacred Heart University for 1 year, and then Pace University for 1 year. In July of 2004, Detective Sergeant Sansone was hired by the NYPD, and upon graduating from the police academy, he was assigned to the 4-6 precinct until June of 2006, when he was hired by the Yorktown Police Department. Upon successful completion of his field training, he was assigned to the Patrol Division. During his time in the Patrol Division, Detective Sergeant Sansone worked as both a patrol officer and a desk officer. In 2019, he was promoted to the rank of sergeant and was assigned to oversee a patrol squad, working primarily in the Midnight Squad, and then was assigned to the traffic unit. In June of 2024, Sergeant Sansone was reassigned to the Detective Division, assigned as the Detective Sergeant. He is currently on the lieutenant's promotional list where he scored #1 in all of Westchester County. During, how about that? During his time at the Yorktown Police Department, Detective Sergeant Sansone has been a certified general topics instructor, a defensive tactics instructor, taser instructor, member of the peer support team and crisis intervention team trained. He oversees the procurement of new ballistic vests for every officer in the department and is just finishing up his second and final year as PBA president. He is a member of the Westchester County Police Emerald Society, as well as the New York State Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge number 9. In 2012, Detective Sergeant Sansone joined the Police Unity Tour, Chapter 37, where he raised funds for the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial for a 300-mile bike ride from Ground Zero to Washington, D.C. He does this annually, and he's the captain of the Yorktown team. After participating in this for numerous years, he and several other Yorktown officers formed Team Yorktown, and as a team, they were able to raise well over $20,000 in a single year to be donated. Team Yorktown now rides with Honor 37, the New York division of the Law Enforcement United Bike Ride, where Sergeant Sansone, Detective Sergeant Sansone, is a trustee. And yes, we are proud of that Honor 37 bike team. There are multiple members in attendance here tonight who joined Detective Sergeant Sansone, but he got that started for us back in 2012. And it's something where you see us wearing beards. We're raising money for that during the month of December. And that's why we proudly do that in order to send off our team in a fine manner. But Sam has done an outstanding job as a leader since being promoted in 2019. Certainly earned that assignment to Detective Sergeant, where he oversees our detective division, who handle every major case that comes our way. So if I can get a nice well-earned round of applause for Detective Sergeant Sansone. And at this time, I'd ask the Sansone family to please join us on stage, where Sam's wife, Jennifer, will be pinning Detective Sergeant Sansone after he takes his oath from Town Clerk Diana Quast.
I, Samuel Sansone,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of
Detective Sergeant in the Yorktown Police Department
Detective Sergeant in the Yorktown Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I did nothing.
You got pins?
He's like, who's
All right,
that?
Jeff, be nice. Jeff, be nice.
He wasn't going to help wrap Christmas gifts.
Right, everybody else made this short. I'm going to drag it out a little bit. I'm just kidding. First, I want to thank Chief Noble, the town board, the rest of the administration for this opportunity. I thoroughly enjoy my new position, and I love what I do. I want to thank all the members of the PBA for coming out tonight to support me and the rest of the sergeants. And last but certainly not least, my beautiful family for coming out tonight. Such a little guy here. It's way past his bedtime, and he's actually being good. So, but thank you all for your support.
All right, and with that, a few things before I do head off the stage and let you get on with your business. It is the obviously the holiday season, and there are a few things that we just want to remind the community of. We see it all the time with the porch pirates, the thefts from packages, the thefts of packages from people's front steps and property. Please, if that does happen to you, please give us a call. And also, just that's neighbor helping neighbor. If you can remind people to just look out for you. If they see any suspicious activity near your house, or you in turn see that around your neighbor's house, please don't hesitate to call us, 914-962-4141. If you don't already have us in your cell phone and your contacts, please do that, 914-962-4141. I'd like to thank the community on multiple occasions right around the Thanksgiving holiday and up until right now, where we're just about 8 days from Christmas and Hanukkah. We've received multiple phone calls from the community notifying us of impaired drivers. And while some of them have been on the cell phone and driving poorly, there's others that we've taken off the street because they've had too much to drink and they're getting behind the wheel. So I would encourage the members of this community to keep calling us if you do see somebody driving poorly. And, you know, I'd like to compliment the outstanding work of my police department, because you do make the call, and it takes an officer being in the area to get there in a prompt and efficient manner and do their job professionally. So we continue to do good things out there, and it's with your help, the community's help. So I thank you for helping keep Yorktown very, very safe. Again, you see surrounded here men and women of the Yorktown Police Department. It was announced, you know, Detective Sergeant Sansone spent 2 years as PBA president. The new president is here tonight, Tim Curtin. He's in the back. Tim, you can wave.
Hi, Jim.
All right. It's a significant leadership role in our police department, and I thank the men and women of the Yorktown Police Department who came out tonight on this Tuesday night to support their brother and sister officers as they receive their promotions tonight. And I will be right back here in January as we have a lieutenant to promote, and with that, another sergeant. And we have a new police officer to introduce to the community as well. So with that, thank you very much for all the people who have been, the Silix came to headquarters today and dropped off a very nice package. Johnny Mercurio from Mercury Heating and Air Conditioning. There's food and goodies coming every day, and we can't thank the community enough. And even if you want to shoot us an email and thank us, we love you out there. We'll continue to do the best that we can. And if you did notice, the people that were promoted here tonight all have ties to Yorktown. They either attended high school here, live here, or have family that do. And again, not a lot of communities have that. You have a police department that's invested in this community and have family that live here, or they do, or they went to school here back in the day in their old school. So again, thank you. Continue to help us help you. And I thank my team out there, my lieutenants, Lieutenant Justin Foley and Lieutenant Mark Rapisarda, for the outstanding job that we do. And collectively as a whole, you've got some very, very good quality people as men and women protecting and serving this town. Thank you to the town board for your support. A happy and healthy holiday season, and we'll see you in 2025. God bless everybody. Thank you.
There's cupcakes in the back for the little ones,
I got my mic back.
but I also know they have to go to school tomorrow, and it's after hours.
Sugar them up, I say.
All right. So, we don't have our poet laureate here today, so we are going to move on to courtesy the floor. Before, if I could have your attention, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this is kind of important for courtesy of the floor. The key word is courtesy. The last time we had some discussion, some things went sideways on how people were treated with a difference of opinion. I want to state for the record right now, if I'm hearing that for that subject, I will shut down courtesy of floor, and then we will ask if anyone has anything else relevant to their neighborhoods or whatever that they'd like to talk about. But we will not stand in tolerance to someone's opinion. Just want to put it out perfectly clear. You do not have to wait for town board meetings for courtesy of the floor. You can email, you can call. Everyone on the dais, their phone numbers and email addresses are up on the town website. All right, So with that, we will open courtesy the floor.
Gregory Kravtsov.
I'm sorry, Gregory, 1 second. Let's just there's a 3-minute time limit, and the clerk is going to start the timer, and you'll be able to hear it. Let me just give her a second. She was finishing up. You ready to go?
Lots of plug and play.
Just give her 1 second, Gregory. Sorry.
Okay, my time started already?
Not yet.
No.
She'll start you. Just give her 1 minute. Well, I'll let you know when to go.
Can I just give you some materials?
Sure, of course.
You could give that to the clerk for the record. She could put in a file. All right, and you may start.
Thank you. Let me read Gregory Kravtsov, resident of Yorktown for almost 30 years. Columbia University educated biochemistry specialist and biochemical equipment engineer, also owner of US patent for space-time matrix, and the materials that you're handling now are the proceeds of Columbia University Biochemical Lab analyzing prion infection. And a prion, as you might know, is a cause of Alzheimer, Parkinson, and mad cow disease. On numerous occasions, I wrote to this board over the years about my wish to organize as a taxpayer subsidy committee to create a new revenue streams to offset our high property taxes. And on one occasion, many years ago, when I already had my patent and I was working actively on this space-time matrix technology, I tried to plead with then museum director Alice Rocker to organize such alternative revenue streams using my patents through museum activity. She refused, and then when she was up for re-election, I tried to be nominated as a Republican to be nominated as a town clerk, just to proceed with this important initiative, because everybody complained about high property taxes. As a matter of fact, we are the highest property taxes in Westchester normalized per square foot of sold property. You know, nowadays you can just chat GPT it and input all data, or better yet, Copilot, Microsoft Copilot has a local data. So if you do that, it will give you the results, and we are the highest. So it was always the efforts of my predecessor, Ed Sifon. People might know him. Now he's retired, and he designated me as an heir of his efforts, not just to expose town inefficiency, but also as to bring new revenue streams through my patent. And to make a long story short, you had a restaurant, right?
Correct.
And in that restaurant was a nominating committee, and I asked.
Sorry, Mr. Kravtsov, your 3 minutes is over.
All right, just you have this document where I ask for to place this.
We'll take a look at it. Is there a record for the clerk?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
I think I gave it to your secretary.
Okay.
So
I'll take
I'm
it.
asking for this matter to be reviewed on a work session.
Okay,
on a
we could talk about that later, Mr. Kravtsov. The 3 minutes is up. Thank you.
Sir, your papers are here, okay?
No, those are for Diana.
Those are for the
record.
We can
You want
keep
those
those?
for the record, correct? No? Okay.
You can take them if you want. Do you want the book back as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want to put it in there. Okay, you're fine. Okay. So just the
All right,
paper
thank
that
you,
got.
sir.
Did you drop it off that paper in writing today to the? did you-
I think I saw a copy
Yeah,
of it.
so can we just have a copy of
All
it?
right. The next for courtesy, the floor. With it, Mr. Krasov, we have a lot of people waiting. That's a 3-minute
What's
limit.
your inclination? You're gonna give me work session or not?
I don't know. I have to read the paper, sir.
Thank you for coming. We'll get back to you. One way or another. One way or the other, sir, we'll get back to you.
And we respond at the end.
Good evening, Yorktown Town Board and Yorktown neighbors. My name's Felicity Arango, and I've lived in Mohegan Lake for almost 20 years.
Hi, Felicity.
Hi. I'd like to express my opposition to the alienation of parkland at Sylvan Glen Park Preserve in exchange for a private farm. Since 2019, I've been a volunteer trail maintainer at Sylvan Glen for the New York-New Jersey Trail Conference and currently serve on their board of directors. The Trail Conference is a nonprofit organization that, through an agreement with the town, maintains the trails in Yorktown parks, and I co-supervise around 30 volunteer maintainers working throughout these parks. I've spent countless hours hiking at Sylvan Glen, clipping vegetation, clearing down trees, picking up trash, and neutralizing graffiti. Just last weekend, we supervised Boy Scouts who helped repair the boardwalks across the extensive wetlands in the parcel under consideration. The trails at Sylvan Glen have been designed by experts using best practices in trail design, which aim to provide multiple access points and trail splits to distribute foot traffic. Trails route through a variety of habitats and features and avoid proximity to development to provide a secluded atmosphere with respect to neighbors' privacy. The proposed land use change eliminates a trailhead that would significantly alter access to a popular section of the park. The farm, with working pastures, crop fields, and machinery, would abut several trails, creating sight, sound, and smell intrusions, undermining the experience of immersion in nature along these trails. These proposed changes will impact key environmental functions provided by the woodlands, wetlands, and natural landscape of Sylvan Glen that benefit the entire community. Clear-cutting the preserve's woodlands to create a farm will impede its ability to sequester carbon, making our community less resilient to the challenges of a changing climate. Wetlands at Sylvan Glen serve a critical role in protecting and improving water quality. Wetlands are natural filtration systems, trapping pollutants and allowing clean water to flow into our reservoirs. Altering or eliminating these wetlands and the introduction of farm waste would not only compromise the local water system, but could also exacerbate flooding risks, stormwater runoff, and erosion problems that affect both wildlife and the community. The preserve serves as a refuge for a variety of species, many of which depend on the forested and wetland habitats for shelter, food, and migration. The proposed plan would eliminate habitat and create more edges, disrupting nearby areas. In summary, the land use change could have significant negative impact on both the accessibility and the quality of the trail experience, as well as the ecological integrity of the park. I hope that we can explore alternatives that prioritize long-term stewardship of Sylvan Glen as a public green space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Felicity.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Myra Helfand. I, along with my husband and son, live at 2841 Stony Street in Mohegan Lake. I am speaking in this evening because I oppose the Gupta land swap and alienation of parkland. I represent not just myself, but other neighbors on Stony Street and Quarry Drive residing here for 30, 40, and 50 plus years with property bordering Sylvan Glen Park Preserve. I grew up in Yorktown and have lived on Stony Street for over 10 years. An old stone wall, reminiscent of how property lines were originally drawn, separates us from the Sylvan Glen Park Preserve. Every day, whether it's looking out our window or walking outside, we enjoy seeing the nature and wildlife afforded us by our proximity to Sylvan Glen. The convenience of crossing over our stone wall into Sylvan Glen provides an easy escape from the stressors of daily life, an opportunity to say hi to strangers, see deer or other wildlife running through the woods, or for my son to seek out various reptiles and amphibians during his adventures. There are no houses visible on the Stony Street side of Sylvan Glen, or the cul-de-sac of Quarry Drive for that matter. If the parkland is alienated, a large number of trees will be eliminated, and the multiple buildings proposed by the Guptas will be in full view. Removal of parkland is always detrimental. Not only would there be significant economic impact to our property value, the changes proposed through this land swap will undermine the character of the area and the very reasons why family like ours chose to live here. We live a half-mile from Granite Knolls Sports and Recreation Complex. Prior to the development of Granite Knolls, we enjoyed quiet evenings taking pleasure in the peaceful solitude of the night sky. Now we hear the screams of people, loud music, and see close encounters of the third kind lighting. While not our preference, we realize Granite Knolls was necessary and provides recreation and athletic opportunities for not just all local Yorktown residents, but every town and city involved in school and private or organized sports who compete with our children. The same cannot be said for the Gupta land swap. Why should the individual interests of the Guptas be placed higher than those living on Stony Street, Quarry Drive, Yorktown Heights, Mohegan Lake, or any other person who visits Sylvan Glen from other towns, cities, counties, or states? Putting the common good above individual interests means prioritizing the well-being and benefit of a community over the personal desires of any single individual. Serving on the town board requires you to do what's in the best interests of its residents, not cater to the desires of one individual. Alienation is a substantial intrusion on municipal parkland use for non-park purposes. It is a non-renewable resource that must be protected. Sylvan Glen, like serenity or peace of mind, is priceless. I hope the Yorktown Board shares this sentiment. Thank you.
Thanks, Mara.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Brandon Zong, and I'm a senior at Yorktown High School. I live with my parents and little brother on Quarry Drive, and we have been there for more than 20 years. I'm also an Eagle Scout in Troop 165, and I've come here tonight to speak out against the Gupta land swap, as well as the alienation of parkland. Growing up, the Sylvan Glen Nate Park Preserve has always been one of my guilty pleasures, a great place to go hiking, walking, or running, or anything you want. So when I got the chance to complete my Eagle project there, I jumped at it. My troop, including more than 15 adult leaders, scouts, and parents, spent over 70 hours combined to bring my project to life. By the end, we managed to build 2 puncheons, or bridges, across 2 areas of consecutive muddy trails. Through this experience, I have learned the amount of effort and time it takes to maintain the trails. The Gupta land swap for farmland would place my project in private property rather than parkland, leading to the destruction of trails located there, and as well as my project, not only invalidating the effort of my troop, but also the effort of the trail conference. I believe if the town goes through with this land swap, it will set a bad precedent for the younger generation, demonstrating that the town puts individuals above the populace. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you, Brandon.
Hi, Natasha Allison, Yorktown Heights. I
Natasha.
wanted to come today to speak because I had noticed an ad in the Yorktown paper regarding fluoride by Susan. Susan, you claim fluoride in the water supply to be one of the greatest public works achievements. There are many public works in place, and this is the only one I am aware of in which forced ingestion with unregulated consumption is implemented. Every other system has an application process in which those who need access to the public service can gain access to that public service. Why is this different? If you truly care about the dental health of vulnerable community members, find and build a system that works for all and could actually greater benefit those who have needs. There is a large portion of your community, the community you serve, that are telling you, as loudly as we can, that we do not wish to have forced ingestion of fluoride in our public water. Why are you focusing all of your energy on battling that instead of finding a system that works for all? You can think that ingestion of fluoride is the most wonderful thing on earth, and you can follow whatever dated science articles you would like to. Why are you trying to force people who do not wish to ingest it to have to? Why are you not advocating for systems that work for all, with the same outcome, in fact, a better outcome, where those who want it and need it get it, and those who do not wish to have it do not have to have it? Further, you are leaving out a portion of your community who have well water. You are pushing for a system that denies them free access to the fluoride you find so valuable. Feel how you want about fluoride. Please do better for the community. Thank you.
Can I start? Okay. Hi, my name is Ella. I'm from Yorktown Heights. First, I just want to say thanks for taking the time to hear us out. I feel like I'm an episode of Parks and Rec. I don't know if anyone's seen the sitcom. But I also am here to talk about fluoride. And I actually first saw this in a TikTok from CNN's reporting, which went viral. A bunch of my friends at Northeastern saw it, that our board voted to suspend fluoridation, emphasizing that the priority is safety and well-being in our community. I've heard people say that fluoride in high levels can be toxic, and it's true that fluoride in water at twice the recommended limit has been found to be associated with lower IQ in children. But this applies to fluoride that is naturally occurring in soils and rocks, and not where fluoride is added for public benefit. The current standard for water fluoridation in the U.S. is set at 0.7 milligrams per liter, and Yorktown's levels were previously at 0.7 milligrams per liter. Drinking twice the amount of water does not increase the concentration of fluoride to a toxic level within your body. And additionally, a study from the Department of Health in North Carolina has demonstrated the value of fluoride in town water. They saw that from 2022 to 2023 in Nash County, which had added fluoride, just over 10% of kindergartners were treated for tooth decay. However, in Ashe County, where the residents had a non-fluoridated well or rely on spring water, that amount rose up to 44%, which is significantly higher. Overall, fluoride does help prevent tooth decay, period. And in response made to comments made by community members that people can just buy toothpaste that contains fluoride or go to a dentist for that treatment, some people can't afford that, or their insurance doesn't cover that, or doesn't cover it as much as it could. Like, my insurance didn't cover that last time. Also, some people can't just afford to get their cavities filled willy-nilly, and children that have cavities spend a lot of time and lose a lot of time from school to get treated for that. So if you come from a privileged family and you don't want fluoride, these people can just purchase bottled water, or they can pay to have their cavities filled. However, the minorities and other underprivileged people can't do that same stuff. I just like to end with saying that Ed Luchterman pointed out that the younger generation wants purity over fluoride, and as a member of the younger generation, I hope that we set policies that for public health that are based in sound science and empathy for our neighbors. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I love when people love to be told what to do.
Good evening, Jan Mirchandani, Yorktown Heights. How awesome is it that we have young people coming up to speak? And I'm not at all biased because Brandon came from my troop, you know. So anywho, I wanted just to say at the budget meeting, I was glad to hear that there seems to be an openness to reevaluating the 485B law. When this law was first adopted years ago, as we talked about at the budget meeting, I guess it was last week or whenever it was, the week before, obviously our circumstances were very different. It was quite a while ago. In fact, Sergio, when you were campaigning, you often would talk about the Amazon effect, right? And how shopping habits have changed. And I completely agree with that. Obviously, the demand for commercial space as people are shopping more online, shopping, dynamics have changed, has changed the way our community needs and what businesses need in terms of commercial space. So we need to review whether this law still serves our community's best interests. If we keep the law in its current form, we're going to continue to give away money unnecessarily. And that's why I've been really focused on this issue, and I've been talking about it for a while. We obviously can't make changes to the 2024 budget, but we can look at changes that we can make that would impact the 2025 budget. We have other opportunities, as we discussed last week, for increasing our income. We could follow the example in some of our neighboring towns in terms of installing solar canopies, which can be, I know you're not keen on the solar, but we can put in designs that are both functional and attractive. We can also reduce our fuel costs by looking at changing some of our fleet to hybrid vehicles, but those obviously require investment. By reevaluating the 485B law, there is no cost other than time and a will to do it. So I think, you know, when we were talking about it last week, I was really excited to hear that there seemed to be some openness. So I'm just asking on behalf of the residents when we might be able to expect to see that on the agenda for 2025. Thanks.
Good evening, Town Board. Larry Killian, Yorktown Heights. Why are our taxes going up? One big reason is our development policy. Since April, with your approval of the tax cert for the JV Mall, we've lost over $1 million in revenue. Why was there no mention of this at the budget hearing? In the 21st century, we need less retail space because of online shopping. All over the country, towns are looking for ways to repurpose existing retail space. We're going in the opposite direction, giving developers tax breaks to build unneeded new retail space, which I would argue is drastically reducing the value of our existing space. So here are 3 examples. First, in August of 23, a strip mall on East Main Street won a tax certiorari, reducing their assessed value by 1/3. Second, in April of this year, the JV Mall got a 2/3 reduction in their assessed value. What did that cost us? For the years 2020 to 23, we had to give back $6,220 in taxes. Lakeland had to give back, Lakeland Schools, $3.86 million. We lost an additional $175,000 in this, the 24 tax year, and we'll lose an additional $187,000 in 2025 for a total loss from this one tax cert of $9,802,000, well over $1 million if you include the $92,000 for legal fees. The schools had to give back over $5 million. Third example, Uncle Giuseppe's has been open for 2 years, but we have not gotten a dime from increased property taxes. Why? And I asked this last year at the budget hearing. The owner got a tax cert 10 years ago after the Food Emporium left, but there was no increase in assessment after the big remodeling because the value of retail space has declined rapidly over the last 10 years, and that's really what counts. So we need to be concerned about these and others I'll provide in the future. Examples of tax reductions. We need a new approach. We need town board members willing to examine this problem as the law requires. So, thank you.
Good evening, Town Board members. I'm Mary Jane Killian, also a resident of Yorktown. So I recently read in an interview with you, Supervisor Lachman, in the Northern Westchester Examiner that you consider your mission to protect taxpayers and seek innovative ways to meet the challenges of the day. That was great to hear because 2 of the challenges that we face in this town are how to transition to clean energy and how to save our taxpayers money. And each of these challenges can be met in innovative ways, which will also add to our revenue. Here are some examples of our town's lost opportunities to save money by transitioning to clean energy. Not setting actual goals for the transition to clean energy. As a retired teacher, I can attest to the fact that setting goals is important to ensure accountability. Not making plans to cover our municipal roofs and parking lots with solar panels, not installing charging stations, not transitioning to hybrid and plug-in hybrid electric cars for town vehicles, not taking advantage of the many statewide legislative initiatives to support local government in their transition to clean energy. And if we need a model of how to accomplish these goals, all we need to do is look to our neighboring town, Croton-on-Hudson, which can proudly call itself the top-ranking clean energy community in New York State. If they can do it, so can we. They're currently earning $480,000 a year because they leased town space to a partner which installed solar panels over their parking lot. We have a lot at Granite Knolls that's perfect for such a project. Why didn't we install solar panels there? I'll leave you with a picture of an installation in the parking lot at Brookside School in Ossining. It's near our town line, which not only looks lovely, but saves money while providing clean energy. Hold it up for the camera. So, there's the camera. So in closing, I'd say that I hope your words, Supervisor, to seek innovative ways to meet the challenges of the day are more than a soundbite. We have to make up many years of inaction in this area. I hope that your words spring from a real desire to protect taxpayers by embarking on a plan to transition to clean energy while saving money for our residents. That would be a win-win for us, right in line with your mission. Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. Thank you.
I've seen solar canopies.
Good evening, Ken Belfer. I'll be very brief. I just want to wish each of you on the town board happy holidays and a happy and healthy new year. And I also want to say thank you to all of you, including Diana and Adam, and I see Dan Ciarcia in the back, for what you do for the town of Yorktown and the residents, including listening to us at Courtesy of the Floor. So thank you and have a great new year.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Good evening, members of the town board, and I also appreciate it. It's not easy being up here every other Tuesday night.
Thanks, Sarah.
I see that one of the resolutions on tonight's agenda is to authorize the Water District to purchase an M400B2 base station transmitter and extended warranty at a cost of $49,063. When the town embarked in 2022 with the supply and installation of the remaining residential smart meters throughout the Water District, I'm wondering what the predictions provided by Core & Main indicated in terms of coverage, because I understand that this transmitter is being acquired to address the dead zones in town. And we know that we have dead zones in town.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is around, you know, what were we told initially when we put them in terms of coverage? How do those predictions compare with the discovery of the actual dead zones in town, where our water usage readings are currently unreadable? And with the acquisition of this transmitter, what percentage of the town's smart meters will we now be able to read? Hopefully this covers the full cost, including installation and an antenna, which I didn't see on the unit. And then hopefully this expenditure will enable us to move closer to getting all of the water meters, smart meters read, as well as hopefully our residents, the remaining ones who haven't yet installed the smart meters, will do that, enabling them to save money, and as well as the town. So thank you very much, and happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Sarah.
Sarah.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening.
Hi, Town Board. I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday and a happy, healthy New Year to you and your families. I'd like to speak about the Sylvan Glen Nature Preserve. There's a reason why it's called that, and I think it should be preserved. I don't know if any of you heard, but I did some research, and I also heard the monarch butterfly, which I know Yorktown is very concerned about, is also proposed for endangerment. And the more we're cutting down trees and nature, it's being affected by nature. And I know that what attracts the monarch butterflies are certain plants. And how much more are we going to cut down the certain nature that's going to take away what survives in our nature? And I like some answers. And also, how many are you concerned about the strange drones that are flying in our skies today? And if you have any insight that can let us know, because I'm curious, especially being a sci-fi fan of Star Trek. And maybe I'm being silly now, but inquiry minds like to know. Anyway, thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate it. Have a nice evening.
Thanks,
Thank you, everyone.
Good evening. Good evening. Andy Stegmeyer, Yorktown Heights. I just want to say a few words about fluoride. Susan, you stated that in the past that if you cannot trust the FDA, CDC, and the NIH, who can you trust? So I just did a little bit of digging, literally 10 minutes of digging, and I found some interesting and disturbing info. I looked at a couple of pharma companies just for research sake. I looked into former FDA commissioners, directors, and persons of influence on those FDA, for instance. And I found many of those people now have jobs in big pharma. It's interesting.
All the money.
So previously they're employed by our government and now trying to, with the job of regulation and industry and keeping us safe. And now those people are working for the people that we're supposed to be protected from. Who can you trust? Right? 2009, Pfizer paid out the largest settlement in U.S. history, $2.3 billion for a drug that was deemed safe. Okay, so it just, again, that drug led to heart attack and stroke. Who can you trust? We have a health crisis. We all know this. Alzheimer's, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, on and on and on. Here we go. So now we're looking at fluoride. In my opinion, water should be water, nothing more, nothing less. Okay? It's plain and simple. Common sense should lead you to understand that cavities in children and adults are rooted in health crisis. Putting something in the water and saying it's public health is nonsense. It's not public health. What we need is education. What we need is to take kids and adults and teach them what health and lifestyle is, what good nutrition is, how to get off soda, how to get off sports drinks, how to get off processed food. What is health? You can trust food, and you can trust good nutrition. You can trust exercise, and you can trust common sense approaches. Putting things in water that people don't want is not a good common sense approach. Instead of putting fluoride in the water, Yorktown needs to reallocate funding towards education on what real health is, real nutrition, healthy lifestyles, and healthy choices. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Good evening. Hello, Town Board. I just want to start by thanking you all for turning off the fluoride and sincerely appreciate what you have done so far to protect us.
just
So
state
my
your-
name is Melanie Ryan. I'm a Yorktown resident, and I've lived here for 15 years. And I'd first like to talk about, does fluoride accumulate in the body? So we often are talking about the dosage, and the dosage always does matter. But what makes fluoride so dangerous, and this is a chemical fluoride, this is not a mineral, this is not a natural fluoride as we've talked about in the past. The dose makes the poison. All sides agree that the fact that healthy kidneys can eliminate only 50% of daily fluoride intake. The rest gets stored and calcified in the tissues. The National Academy of Science stated in 1977, this is how I was 7 years old then, that the average individual, a retention of 2 milligrams a day would result in crippling skeletal fluorosis after 40 years. So we're talking about accumulation. So when we say, oh, it's just a small amount, it's a small dose, no big deal. So what my body excretes or doesn't excrete, which my body does not excrete, okay? My husband, he excretes, okay? He sweats every day, works out every day, he's sweating it out. My body, it stays in there. Okay, he represents a very small amount of the population because who else is working out every day, right? So in indigenous people in the old times, they did sweat lodge, right? They would sweat it out. That's how they sweat out the toxins. If you're not working out every day, then it's accumulating and it's becoming very dangerous. So thank you, Susan, for providing me the opportunity for more education. So So I brought some books because I've been studying naturopathic medicine for 5 years now. Can I have other books? And so this is called The Fluoride Deception. This is not just for you, Susan. This is for the public. This is a book called The Devil's Poison, How Fluoride is Killing You.
Oh.
Cure Tooth Decay, Heal and Prevent Cavities with Nutrition, which Andy just talked about, how we need to be talking about nutrition. The Case Against Fluoride, How Hazardous Waste, because that's what it is, it's a hazardous waste, it's a chemical, not a real natural mineral. How hazardous waste ended up in our drinking water and the bad science and powerful politics that keep it there. Bad science and powerful politics that keep it there. Fluoride, Drinking Ourselves to Death.
I like those catches.
So The Poison Squad, this is a book that actually talks about a squad of scientists, politicians, a bunch of people from the early 19th century that talked about the poison in our food and other places.
Right, I'll order that.
Melanie, thank you.
The last one, this is a gift for Susan. Can I give her? This is a gift from a dentist that did a 10-year study on how nutrition is the cause of tooth decay and how we can prevent it. So,
Thank you.
Oh, that's so kind.
I think I'm not going to read it, so you can have.
she says, I'm not going to read it.
Thank you.
I read scientific studies.
Thank you.
That's what I read.
You assume that there aren't any in there?
Peer-reviewed
Excuse me,
scientific
Susan.
studies.
Susan.
I'll take the gift then. I'll read it.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
My name is Robin Stegel. I've
Thank
been
you,
here
Robin.
in Yorktown my entire life, 39 years. I do not find pleasure in being in this position, but I speak for my children right now. And I'm going to address Susan because I've been looking at your Facebook posts and I've also been reading your articles in the newspaper. And I have a very simple question for you. And that is, as a mother, I feel very strongly that giving my child fluoride in their water, or my children, I should say now, is extremely harmful to them. Why do you feel so strongly in forcing me to do so? You said, and I quote, if you don't like it, don't drink it. There is a way to ensure that those who feel it is beneficial to their health have access to it. We've talked about fluoride pills. We've talked about it in toothpaste. We've talked about it at the dentist. I'm sorry. Why is it that for the people who feel that it is not, in fact, beneficial, you feel we need to force it on our children and our bodies. I want to know why you feel it is right and just and fair to force me to do something to my children that I feel is harming them, because to me that is simply cruel and unusual. In America, we fight for our rights to individual freedoms. Isn't it my right to decide what I put into my own body and the bodies of my children? If you put fluoride back into the water, you rip me of my right to choose. As Ed and the board have been saying from the beginning, this is not about deciding which side is right or who has the better science, as you just said. It is about giving the town and the people in this town the right to choose our own path. I applaud this board, despite what every person in a white coat has to say. I will say this on repeat. If you want to find your science, you need to follow the money. Susan, I'm asking you to let this go and stop telling us moms that we either feed our children neurotoxins or we drink nothing at all. Thank you.
Hi, Dan.
Hi. Happy holidays. Dan Strauss, 58-year resident. I'm not going to change my tune from the night that I talked about fluoride. I'm not going to get into discussion. I think it's okay at 0.7%. But you obviously feel, I have a word, experts here. Usually people listen to experts, but with this, they don't listen to experts. So it's how you want to view experts. That's my feeling. I believe 5 years ago, Mr. Lachterman, we had a set to after a meeting at the library about this very same thing, and that was off the record. You brought something on the record at the very end of the meeting about people who feel strongly that they don't want this in their bodies, which is their right. That is their right. I also feel that you had no right to do as you did. I believe you broke the law. That's my opinion. You could have waited 3 months and then see how things played out. And if that was the case, that's fine. You go ahead and can it. And I can't do a thing about it. In Hawaii, 2 state legislators say that they want pristine water. They don't listen to anything else. They want pristine water, and they don't have fluoride. But in Europe, where people commented about, they don't have it, but they do put additives, and you made the comment, in salt and also in milk. And they drink a lot of milk in Europe, and they do add fluoride. Okay, I'll move on. Alienating parkland. I don't live in Mohegan Lake. You want to alienate parkland now over in Mohegan Lake. You want to alienate it in Granite Springs for a cell tower. You want to revitalize the town to bring in all the businesses, all the traffic. They want to put 254 more units over in Navajo. I took a drive right through the corridor, and I got to Navajo. So if you think that that should go into the overlay district, you might as well put the whole town into the overlay district. So anyone can come in here and do whatever they want. They want to try and put in a transfer station, in a light industrial. The guy has the gumption to come in and say, I want to put heavy industrial into light industrial. They want to do everything. We're the fast food capital of the world. Someone said in the paper we're going to be the pickleball capital of the world, where I have no problem with all pickleball courts.
Great.
So we're going to be the capital of everything. And I drove from Peekskill the other day across the whole town. It took me close to a half hour.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Ella, I'm sorry, you're only allowed to come up once during
Oh,
courtesy.
she's my sister.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I thought it was just warm and you took your sweatshirt outside.
Yeah.
How far are you guys apart?
Oh, 8, 9 minutes? Yeah.
We're twins.
Twins.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, your name is?
You sure you didn't switch sweaters with her while you were?
Yeah, she has.
That's
she
Ella.
curled her hair a little.
Just making sure. No,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. I missed your name.
Yeah. Oh, it's Eva.
Eva.
Yeah.
Eva,
Mhm.
all right.
Yeah. So I actually wasn't initially going to talk about the fluoride because I thought my sister had laid out some pretty good points about it. But then hearing some other people's points, I just wanted to like reiterate some things where fluoride in excess, it can potentially come with some health risks, but removing it entirely from public drinking water would cause more harm than good. And let's see, hold on. I was just reading an article. So we really just need to make sure that we're protecting the underserved and marginalized communities. Communities that are already at risk are going to be at even greater risk. And my sister pointed out about how in North Carolina, the communities without fluoride had much higher risks and much greater rates of tooth decay. So obviously, fluoride is having a very positive impact, and we should not be removing it. And once again, I feel like just because you're complaining loudly does not mean that you're right. I've been doing a co-op, which is an internship at the City Hall in Boston, and we get a lot of incoming calls about issues, but when you look at what the voting is like, in reality, we're just hearing a small percentage of the people who are complaining. So I think that, final thoughts, we should definitely put fluoride back into the water because it's good for our health. And we should be paying attention to science and facts and the experts. And this extends to climate change as well. I'm an environmental science major, and I loved your comments about clean energy, so thank you for that. But happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Hi, I do not like public speaking, but I did want to say I'm Ashley Roma,
Hi, Ashley.
Yorktown. I wanted to thank you for taking fluoride out of the water. I'm a mom of two very young children, 2 and 4, and doing my own research and educating myself and talking with mentors. I felt very happy and safe as a Yorktown resident when you made that big decision that's so important for our community. So I just wanted to thank you, and please keep fluoride out of our water.
Yes,
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a peaceful New Year to everybody. Joanne
Thanks, Joanne.
Selleck, Yorktown Heights. You all know me pretty well, and you know I speak only for the good of Yorktown with no innuendos. It's very disappointing when some others don't do the same. I appreciated hearing the discussion on the Navajo project last week. Although there was a lot of information given by the attorneys Mr. Grace and Mr. Blanchard, I came away with a lot of questions. What are the benefits to the Lake Osceola corridor? Mr. Grace said this project would incentivize economic growth, saying the mall would get more customers. Clearly, that would increase traffic. We were told the increased density would be in comport with the rest of the area. Will 240 units be in comport with the 38 single-family homes there now? And I believe they're contiguous, I'm not certain. Can you possibly compare the streetscape of Shrub Oak with 240 units as Mr. Grace did last week? He stated, and I quote, "Shrub Oak has a lot more demands on traffic than 6N will ever have," close quotes. How is that statement credible? A benefit that has been lauded is the sewers. Oh, glorious sewers. No doubt sewers are sorely needed in the Osceola district. The residents of Halleck's Mill are still waiting for theirs promised years ago. Why? Last week, the supervisor explained the major problem was the cost of the hookup and asked if there is a set-aside for the Osceola district. If there is an allowance, I ask how much for a $10,000 hookup, a $30,000 hookup. Some of these families live from paycheck to paycheck. Who is paying for this allowance? The developer? The town? Using our tax dollars in appreciation for these sewers? Yorktown has $32 million. Yes, they're used to run the town, but it is a lot of money. Why doesn't the town pay for the sewers? You do not need an unwanted project like Navajo to bring in sewers. The residents of Yorktown are overwhelmingly against it. The attorney said that these are questions for way down the road. No, they are not. They must be answered now before the board, so the board can make an educated decision before they vote. Once the property is in the overlay and goes to the planning board, it is a done deal. I say this with confidence. How many projects can you name that were before the planning board that were not built? I thank you and have a wonderful, happy, healthy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
Happy holidays, everybody. My name is Dwayne Simmons.
Hi, Dwayne.
And a couple of things. I wanted to introduce myself because I'm the president-elect of Jefferson Village now.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
And good luck to Charlie and Ann on their retirement from that
Yes,
position.
exactly. So what that also means is that, as if they weren't always dear to my heart, the people that live in Jefferson Village, you know, when I hear things that I think are going to be detrimental to the community, you know, it's my job. It'll be my job and is my job to speak up for it. I was watching the last town hall meeting, and Michael Grace had pointed out that Lake Osceola is polluted with fecal matter and E. coli. And my question to you, because I know you guys care about the community too, I've seen you at events and stuff. When did this happen, and when was it known? And, you know, it sounded like, from listening to Michael, it sounded like if he gets his project to go through, he'll take care of that. Now, in my mind, if we're paying taxes and the water is polluted, which is detrimental to Jefferson Village and all the surrounding places, then shouldn't that be the town? I mean, should somebody be able to hold us hostage and say, I'll do this if you guys let me put this project through? I mean, we should be doing this ourselves. Our lakes should be clean, and that should be a part of what we pay our taxes for. It's not even negotiable. The thing is, you know, I got a little upset because as I'm sitting there watching, and he's saying about what he would do if this project went through, what he would do with the sewers and all this other good stuff. Sounded good. But, I mean, it's our responsibility. It's the town's responsibility. It's not the responsibility of somebody who's going to hold us hostage and say, well, if you let me do what I want to do, then I'll take care of your problem with the sewage. I'll take care of your problem with Lake Osceola. I just think that that's deplorable. And I think that, you know, as the town board, you guys should start looking into cleaning this up yourselves, because that is what we pay taxes for. You know, it sounded like a bad movie. If somebody falls into Lake Osceola, they'll come up with boils and all kinds of stuff on it, the way he sold it. So I just wanted to say that, and also happy holidays to you guys.
Thank you.
You know, I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Good evening, Town Board. Brian Sillick, Yorktown Heights, New York. I'm here to talk about Lake Osceola, which is now known by the developers as Lake Osceola Corridor. They're forgetting that it's Navajo Sports Complex. The last meeting, they said the number of units are going to be 240. prior to that, it was 254. At our next meeting, is it going to be 360 or 500? They also could buy, if I'm not mistaken, the land that the recycling plant we wanted to put up, or you did, and that would increase.
We
the
weren't putting that up, Brian.
that would increase the number of units. And right now, if you look at it, you could head down. You guys live on the other side of town, but if you come down Route 6 at 4:30 in the afternoon, weekdays, forget the weekends, it's totally backed up. You're going to need at least 2 traffic lights. It's proven the traffic lights, and you know that, are $200,000 to $500,000 depending on the crosswalks. Who's going to pay for that? And if you give a tax break, we're not going to make any money on this, and it's going to be, the whole corridor will be backed up with cars. I want you to give it big thought. Also, the overlay district, some people, including myself, are still confused about it. I would like you to explain to the audience and anybody else what it is, why it does exist, what benefit is it to the people and to the town, and if you left the Lake Osceola corridor or Navajo Sports Complex alone, what difference would it make to the whole bit? That's all. Thank you very much. Have a good holiday. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Brian. Anyone else for courtesy of the floor? Motion to close courtesy of the floor?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'll start with a couple things.
Do you mind
know-
if I speak before you, just so I only have 2 things?
Sure.
And then I'll keep going forever, and we want to not be here forever. I like to talk. Okay, so the 2 things I just want to name. I'll let you go into the Osceola and whatnot. I hear the follow the science. I hear all of that. I also see your bravery of those who come up here and want to put their place there. I think the one thing I'm going to say is, for me personally, you can say you're putting point something into the water, and if the infrastructure fails, then you're not putting point something in the water. And I don't know how much you guys rely, I personally, coming from a place where I come from immigrants who raised their kids here, who had to self-learn, and no one's coming, had to learn how to eat, and when I couldn't afford food, I had to learn how to grow it, and if I couldn't pay a bill, I had to have 3 jobs. And the one thing I will say is, when we talk about taking care of underprivileged or communities, I want to hit pause. I do this for a living outside of this world. I don't shame them in any which way. They're either not taught or they're kept that way. Because if you look at Fidelis and welfare, you get 5 fluoride treatments free every single year. The working class is the only class that does no benefit. The privileged could pay for it out of pocket. They get every holistic doctor on the planet. They don't need the fluoride because they get every grown food, right? But I have kids that will have one of these, but I've got kids that live on these because no one's home because their mom needs 3 or 4 jobs. And instead of working on benefiting the community in its whole, we go into these nitpicking, and then we listen to somebody who's safe, or someone's going to give us a rebate, or someone who's going to do something for us. And whether that's the scientist or the guy who's got 80 degrees, I'm going to tell you that guy who's got 80 degrees probably never went and fed a poor person, probably never sat in a motel with 25 migrants, doesn't see that they have no health care right now sitting in Jersey. But if you want to take a ride with me, my office is across the street, the Grace Building. I'm very, very, very transparent. You can come, and I will put you in my car, and I will take you. And one of the things I show is sometimes a bag of soil and a couple seeds or small plants that I grow in like an old school gallon of like milk, and I can transplant it in a Bronx apartment or on a stoop or wherever, lasts a lot longer, because going to Uncle Giuseppe's or Acme or even the yard, they don't have time to do it. But when it comes to put it in there, I'm gonna ask you, do you trust workers today? Because their elbow hurts and they don't go to work. Or they're having a mental health crisis, and it's not really a mental health crisis, it's a Friday night they went out too long and they don't show up. But the excuses that we allow today are also the people that work for us. So it's not just put the 0.7 because it's safe. I'm also, are you sure that the infrastructure will hold it? If it goes rogue, do you have a plan in place? We have a lot of excuses in this country. Lots of excuses, and we point the finger. But the one thing I don't see, in my opinion, I speak only for me, is hard work. And I think that if we helped people and taught them how to curate and live, they would be better. Whether we believe that fluoride should be in the water or not, It's a deeper problem. And when we mask it with these smaller problems and we make this the only cause or what we're doing, we're missing a huge amount of people. And I don't want people speaking for other people. You sit with them and you learn from them. But they're not the reason why fluoride belongs in the water. So that's all I just want to say.
So, thank you. So I'm going to try to address some of the points. I'm going to start with the overlay district, Brian, to explain. The overlay district goes back to the master plan. It recognized that there's some districts in Yorktown that you could have a density bonus look at and be able to let the planning board shape the projects that would help to revitalize those areas. So it's a very well-lauded plan by the state. Matter of fact, when it started in town, the Business Council of Westchester and some of the New York State people said that it's a model example of some of the zoning code, what it should be. But I'll be honest with you, it's an infant. It's got to evolve properly. There are definitely some issues. And when you talk about the Osceola district there, that whole corridor, that's one of the debates. Where does that end? Where do the effects come? I will state for the record again, though, we never ever, and the town board does not put forward projects such as we wanted to build a recycle station. That was something that was actually allowed in a law. It was put in before my time on the board, but what a transfer station is and recycling, they've merged in their definition per se, but it evolved to a much higher degree of stuff. We never wanted it. We actually brought forward a law to change our law to change it and eliminate that use because we did not think that it was appropriate any longer, and that is what our town board did. So, there was a lot of talk on it up here, and it was great to hear that, but you were singing to the choir in that one, and it's something we don't want and didn't want. For the Lake Osceola itself and the pollutant in there, it becomes a property issue, and we can't go onto someone's property, but the genesis of that pollution, we believe, is coming from failing septic tanks. So, unfortunately, I think the people that own them are not coming forward because the standards in the Board of Health back in the day were different for what a septic needs to be today. And some of these septic tanks are literally buried in the backyards right along the lakefront. That water has been coming up. We've had some people come in. It goes over the septic. If there's any failure, it leaches out the septic, and that ends up in the lake.
But also, Ed, those houses were summer houses. They were bungalows. They were designed to be used 3-4 months a year. Things have evolved. They're full-time houses. Those septics are getting pounded 12 months a year. So that's one of the reasons why that they're having septic issues on the right side of the lake and on the left side. So I just...
But I will, yes, absolutely. Thank you, Patrick. But I will say, Brian brought up a point about the traffic lights, saying who's going to pay for it. And Dwayne, you brought up the point about the sewers and why are we being held hostage. Well, I don't think an $8 million investment or whatever it's going to cost is really being held hostage. It's an offering from a developer to do something. Just like the traffic lights we spoke, AMS is doing two traffic lights. We are not paying for them. They are.
And excuse me, Supervisor, and Joanne, just to point out about the whole hookup and the allocation, how it would help these. If your property is worth only $180,000 and because it is a bungalow, how do you have the funds to do the hookup, even if there is sewer? That was, I don't know if you remember, but I did bring that up because I do also want to make sure that if it's there, that there's an incentive for them to be able to do it. Like, what is it going to cost those homeowners to do it, right? Because they're going to have to pay for it.
But the question I asked of the developer, and just for the record, the attorneys on any project are not the developers. They're paid to put their best foot forward. That's what it is.
To shine.
The developer of Creative Living, what I asked them point blank was, I'd like to know, if you are going to do a sewer, how do we get these people hooked up? For exactly that reason. It's expensive, and there is a past practice. There was a sewer put in by Val Santucci on the other side of the road, and he had a $3,500 hookup fee, hookup bonus put aside for each person. So he would cover that. Now, that was years ago. I'm sure that's more money now. And that's what they would have to figure out if the project moves forward. So it's, you know what, there are asks, and that's a job. Our planning board, we have one of our planning board members sitting in the audience. They do a really good job at making sure that things are appropriate for the projects. And that's one of the reasons why, from a town board perspective, I think that we could tell people go for a transitional zone in something like that. I don't think it's appropriate because I don't think we have the necessary knowledge base here for all of our members. Where all of the members of the planning board, that's what they live and breathe, that's what they do. And they have some really good, fine experts there that look out for the town and look out for the projects and make sure that the appropriateness is there, and they get the questions answered. And I commend them because they are all very high-paid volunteers. So they make the top level for being a volunteer. Yes, I'm tripling your salary, Aaron.
Come on, Aaron.
You get to work on the second floor tomorrow.
So there's a lot involved there, and this project has been knocking around a long time. I know the question was asked, what project ever goes before the planning board that doesn't get approved? And I could think of one which has been there 2 or 3 times, which is the Roma building. I don't know if, Aaron, if anything comes out to mind, but the Roma building has been there, and sometimes they come and they go. The Dell Solar project goes back, Aaron, what, 15 years? Yes. It went back 15 years. It was before planning. It was supposed to be buildings. It came before the town board. Actually, I think they were looking for 55 and over back then. So projects come and go. And even if it gets to the planning, sometimes people walk away because it doesn't make sense. There was a lot of conversation about a possible land swap up at Sylvan Glen. I personally spoke to the people who were thinking of it. There is a right-of-way easement for a road, and I recommended use your right-of-way easement and use your property because, you know what, I'm not really big on alienating park space, and I know the people who are living back there are. Now, in the case of over by Curry Street there and the cell tower, there's a safety measure that's involved in that, and that's something that we do have to take into effect. There's a whole neighborhood that you can't talk to someone on their cell phone, and when you're a parent and you're home, and if you have no power and your regular phone isn't working, you need to be able to make a cell phone call. A lot of the cell phones now have their generators attached, and it's important to have cell phone service from a safety point of view. That's our world evolving, and I think that we don't get away from that.
It isn't public safety going towards cell service eventually?
Yes. Public safety is trying to go to cell service, so it's an ongoing issue, and as
it's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
No matter which
Well,
way
I'm hoping, and I still want to bring them back. You hope that there'll be more evolution to things for cell service, so we don't need to rely on towers all over the place. That we could take them down. You don't have the pine tree that looks like the old bat at Yankee Stadium in the parking lot in your backyards, and we all want that, but we need to look at it. We look at solarization all the time. We have our Climate Smart Community Task Force that Sarah's a member of that's been looking at that. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Michael's a member of also. That they are looking at that and coming up with a plan. I will say I have not been able to make some of the meetings, and I know there's been a little transition there. So, Sarah, if we could talk in the beginning of the year to try to get everything caught up, I would appreciate that, because we were looking at quite a few projects. I do know some people have recommended the Capolini Center, which is a landmark building. So a lot of that roof that has the best sun exposure is actually landmarked, and I don't know if we're going to get a certificate of appropriateness to do any work on that, but there are some other flat ones that could come out. Let me just run through. Mr. Kratzoff left, but you know, I get a little skeptical about a taxpayer subsidy for what is a private business. We have looked at some of his proposals, and you know, I have had conversations with him about it. So we need to we need to be very careful with our taxpayer money. I might as well put it into the stock market if that. Sorry. Oh, okay.
I was going to plant Sergio to ask the question. What was the proposal?
Oh, yeah, he never really got to it. It has to do with inductiveness, and that's part of the problem. It's a big circular, yeah.
It's like Avon all over again, or Amway, maybe?
Not, maybe. All right. Yeah.
We'll take
So-
another look at it and
So,
We'll share it.
So let me just go. Okay, in the 485B law, you know, it's funny. We talked a lot about commercial space today. My wife sort of is a little bit of a witch. I had gotten a phone call as I was leaving to go to an
You're gonna be in big
appointment.
trouble.
You're gonna
No,
get
no,
a lot. You're
she
gonna get a
knows
lot
this.
more phone calls.
She knows this. She reads my mind. I got a phone call today as I was getting ready to
Somebody
pack
call
up.
a priest. We need a blessing
It
here.
was the owner of the Triangle Shopping Center, and he was telling me they're ready to break ground in February on their renovation, and we have a really exciting retail space looking at the old TJ Maxx. Can't say what it is, but you're going to be really happy. No, he couldn't tell me. That's what he said. So 10 minutes later, I pick up my wife, and we're dropping off a Hanukkah gift for some friends, and we drive by the Triangle Center. Gee, they need to get something in the TJ Maxx spot. I'm like, well, you get out of my brain. So there has been, and if you look in Yorktown, there's been a little bit of a renaissance in our space. But we need to be able to do that. And there was a lot of talk about tax certiorari. Tax certiorari's are not a tax break. That is the right of any business owner to challenge what their assessment has been. It's a legal process. Adam could probably tell us a little bit about it because he spent a lot of time, especially on the one at the mall. That was that adjudicated in Texas?
Yeah, it was out in the Texas bankruptcy court because it was this kind of bizarre feature of the bankruptcy code, but the mall, the parent company was filed for bankruptcy in Texas, so we got dragged into that over there, which is why it cost $90,000. We had to hire a local counsel. I mean, it was a complex thing, but ultimately we, the way these things work is usually you have dueling appraisers that prepare and establish and submit dueling appraisal reports. And we, if I do say so myself, we did quite well in the resolution of that litigation. It could have been much, much worse for the town. So.
Thank you. So, certiorari's are totally different. It's sort of like when you get that card that says, "Are you paying too much in taxes? Let us know. We'll grieve your taxes." That is the process for businesses to grieve their taxes. Sometimes they win, sometimes they don't. And sometimes they lose. So much different. But for the 485B, we will look at it. I'll try to get that in the first quarter of the year. I'm trying to find some of the notes. That was actually we had a committee that Supervisor Gilbert had set up, and I'm trying to find some of the members to put together. That put that together and look at some of their conversation and try to bring that back in. But there's a misconception that we're giving away taxes. We're not. The taxes that they paid remain the same. The incentive is to do work and get a discount on your taxes over 10 years that gradually declines and comes back. So would we rather old decrepit buildings, or do we want people to invest in them and make them better and try to have a thriving business community? So it's definitely a balance, but that was the purpose, and that's why the legislation was there, and that's what we'll try to move through.
And if there's a demand on the infrastructures, like if it does become if it continues to develop into this renaissance, and we do have, let's say, mom and pop shops or big names that want to come into town, if we have a demand, we don't have to utilize the 485.
Yes, it's automatic.
I'm asking you.
If they meet the criteria.
If they ask for it and they meet the criteria, yes. But if they don't, it's not like every store gets the 485B. It's when they do, they have to do X, Y, and Z to get the 485B.
Yeah, they have to make improvements.
No, I just want to make sure, because I feel like we're making it sound like every new business that comes in isn't paying taxes, or every new business that comes in, or every mall isn't paying taxes, or.
It is being made to sound that way.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, but they are, and what we need to realize, our town tax is 10%. Some of the numbers Larry threw out there, 900,000, but for us, but what was it, 5.2 million for the schools?
Yeah, no, he pointed that out.
But that's because 10% of the taxes go to the town. That's what we run on. 70% go to the school district. Yeah. And that's part of it. 12% go to the county. So, and then the rest goes to your special improvement districts. So our chunk is kind of small, and that's why it takes really to develop all of these to be able to affect taxes on the town level as much as we can. Let me just. Sarah asked a question on the meters. Do you remember, Susan? Because I know you were involved in that first.
Yes, I was going to comment on that. The meter project started in 2010, 2011 when I was supervisor, and I can't remember the name of the company that started the project. It wasn't Core and Main. Core and Main was just hired to install, and I just don't remember the name. They did a study, I think it was called a propagation study, to see what areas in town could be covered and where they would have to put these transmitters. I am sorry, but I do not remember exactly, it was like 14 years ago, what they said. So I don't know if Hunter Brook was identified as a problem then, and I'm not sure, I don't think I have any documents from that time. Since the bulk of roughly half of the meters were installed 2011 and maybe 12, and then it was kind of a hiatus for many years until the board in 2021, 22 voted to complete it. So I don't know if the Hunter Brook area, which is the problem area, whether the new meters were installed back then in 2011. So we didn't know that the problem existed then. And if they weren't installed then we wouldn't have known the problem until now. So I will check. I have one old piece of paper, but it might be in the water department where they did the original
We
study.
could also ask Paul. Will be here on January 7th,
Yeah.
so he may be able to.
Unfortunately, whatever study it was, it's costing us money because apparently, it seems as if things were misidentified.
Well,
But
I don't know
I
what
think that's
was done.
typically the case, Susan. So if I could just finish, I would appreciate it. So, but it is what it is, and hopefully the costs that we have to now spend don't outweigh the benefits of having the meters read remotely. Eventually, it'll catch up, even if it does, and it'll be a benefit to the town.
Yeah, I think there are several benefits to the town. One is the meters are accurate, so we're getting revenue based on the actual consumption, because typically as the meters are old, and many of these were very old, they run slow. The meters don't run fast, they run slow. The second benefit is, and I think as Paul, our water superintendent, explained at a previous meeting, we have one less meter reader who has to go out and check the meters. The third benefit is a direct benefit to consumers because now they could have direct access to what water they're consuming, and they can be notified if suddenly the Joint Waterworks, which monitors the water usage, has a system where they can suddenly see a spike in usage. So they could contact the homeowner and say, has something happened? Did you install a swimming pool? Did you fill it up? Or do you suddenly have more people living in your house, taking more showers, washing more dishes? Oh, no, I think my toilet has been leaking. Yes, and I just haven't gotten around to dealing with it.
And
All right?
I pointed that out in one of my a place that I have, and I ended up getting an email, and it said because my water usage had spiked, and I called my tenant, and the email actually gave me suggestions. It's like check your toilet, check here, check there, and they were right. One of the suggestions was like that. So there are benefits.
I think if I remember, one of the reasons the board revived this whole project was Matt Slater, when he was supervisor, had a leak in his house, and that kind of precipitated it. But I think when the town decided to complete the system, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you did add on a certain software feature that there's a portal that homeowners can eventually make this direct hookup. So you can actually monitor, just like with smart meters with your electric usage, you can monitor them. So you can say, hey, kids, you're not going to be there for 20 minutes in your shower, something like that, because mom and pop are paying the bill. All right? So there are multiple advantages, and I'm just so delighted that they completed it. So I think that the cost of this additional transmitter, if it was covered in 2010, we can see.
It is what it is. We need
Yeah,
it no matter what.
absolutely.
Right? We took the plunge. We said we're doing it. We move forward with it. Now it's pertinent that we take it to the finish line.
I think I would like to ask the Joint Waterworks people. I'm not sure if how much they can do it, but it would be very interesting to see over time if the revenue increases for the same amount of usage, because we are now getting revenue based on every 1,000 gallons of water we use.
So I just heard Sergio say he's going to do the plunge, but that's. You heard that too, Sarah. And I also just want to say that I think, if I'm not
Never
mistaken,
said that.
Paul
Let's
is
go to the videotape.
Paul is away, but I believe that this was the only dead spot. Like after they did their stuff, this was the only area that they were getting
40 square miles.
Yeah, this was the out of the 40-something square miles. Yeah, so I just want to make sure, because I think one of the questions was like, are we going to get a surprise? And we're like, we don't know anything about X, but I think that was it. But I'll follow up with Paul.
Hey, do you have,
let me just finish up so we can get moving on. Howard, monarch butterflies, actually the thing that attracts them the most is weed, milkweed.
Milkweed, yeah.
So the trees per se wouldn't matter for that, but of course there are other things in nature, and yes, other wildlife, and there are also benefits from farming. So from an agricultural point of view, so that's stuff that would be weighed, and then. Gee, did I cover everything, or did I miss the elephant in the room? So let's talk. Oh, the drones. Yeah, actually, George Latimer texted me something before where he was talking about drones. So I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I'll watch it tonight and see. And maybe I'll send it to you, Howard. No problem. So fluoride. I want to actually first thank everyone, because the comments today were thoughtful to each other. The last time I felt it devolved quite a bit. We heard some name calling. We heard some, condescending speech, and it was not what it should have been. So this time around was much better. Thank you. I have stated before, and there were a lot of questions on the science, on the on people who want to be able to make choices for themselves. I know I spoke about natural remedies that people like for the younger generation. And I'm sorry, you guys are a generation under that. I think of my daughter's generation. She and Robin went to school together, and they're both into essential oils, natural foods, My daughter does live in Germany. She buys milk without fluoride. She doesn't use much salt. So there are options for her that she follows. But it gives her a choice because it's not her water system fluoridated. Although, honestly, it would worry for her for absorption. But she drinks bottled water all the time as well from springs. So that's
Glass bottles, though.
That's just her. Yes, glass bottle. So there have been there's a lot of questions on either side. Some of the book titles that Melanie Ryan was reading were quite dramatic titles, which, you know what, that sells. But some of them are really good. Like, it's funny because I had a conversation with a dentist this morning, and Dr. Ian, and he and I were talking, and I asked him, because every dentist I meet now I ask, and he said, look, what do you, I said, what do you feel? And he said, it's taboo for us to speak against fluoride. The Dental Association doesn't like it. And he said fluoride has a use. But he said that in the majority of the cases, he used the example of the Fidelis and fluoride treatments. But he said anyone who brushes their teeth twice a day with a fluoride toothpaste and flosses and takes care of their teeth and goes in for fairly regular checkups, it doesn't make a difference to. But there are the differences of people in lower income. And I know that because, most people don't know, I grew up in that situation. I was one of 3 boys. My dad left when I was 5. My mom was on public assistance. So I know. But one of the things I know, because I hated it more than anything, is I was in Dr. Kaufman's office every 6 months, and it was covered by her Medicaid. And I got my fluoride treatment. But here's the thing. I hated it because I got a lot of cavities. And Andy, you had the book about eating right, I think, and that's really what my dentist told me. And I'll be honest with you, the real irony of it is a lot of cavities in Yonkers with fluoridated water, but I lived a short while in Peekskill, and when I was living there, they don't fluoridate their water. Yeah. And what happened was I stopped drinking soda, and guess what? I went 25 years without a cavity. And my only cavity since then was because I'd never floss. Something got caught underneath one of my fillings, and I ended up, no, it wasn't the ice cream truck. No cavities since then. But one cavity because I wasn't flossing and proper dental hygiene. But I'll say for every book with a sensational title that you have, there is a book on the other side of the aisle with a sensational title. There is someone who feels that 0.7 is a great level, people that don't think 0.7. 1.5 used to be our level here in Yorktown when it first started. It went to 1.0 somewhere along the line, and then I guess whatever the powers that be recommended 0.7, it got lowered in Northern West Joint Waterworks, but our law in the book still calls for 1.0, not 0.7. So it's kind of, one of those things. It gets away. It's evolving. It's changing. And I made the statement that everyone in the room was going to hate me, whether you were for or against, because I was going to wait for the court case, make a decision. And now that the court case is there, we're going to wait for the EPA to answer, respond, and see what comes out of it. And I think that's, out of all of the information coming in, when you look at the statement of an unreasonable risk to children and pregnant mothers, I think we have a responsibility to say, well, let it be a choice then. Let's not force it. Let's let it be a choice. My daughter is my stepdaughter. When my wife first married and she was an infant, they were living at the top of Miller Hill Road, and they were on a well, and she had to get fluoride drops, and my wife went and got them, and that's what she had in her water. So there are ways around it. I believe Governor Hochul has actually set up something as well for those that want fluoride. I know she made an announcement on it. I haven't seen the follow-up on it. So we want to make sure if you want that fluoride, there's a way to get it. And I think that's an important aspect here.
I also think that like one of the things that I've learned, like in Shalom Mountain and all these practices that I do with like shamans and naturopaths, is that skin, eyes, teeth, nails, and hair are genetic. They come from our ancestors, and they didn't have all the fluorides and whatnot. And yes, they carried the basket, so they did. Like if we go to our ancestors, if you just go generationally, like we all have ancestors. We all come from like these different things. And it's interesting how if you look at nail beds, like your siblings might have a nail bed that belongs to your grandmother. Or if you look at teeth, it's like, you know, there's certain family lineages that, or certain cultures that have different teeth, and then certain people that have beautiful teeth or beautiful skin, and it's cultural. And it's interesting because it's almost like nobody feeds the trees and the birds, and they're just doing just fine. I'm wondering, like, how much of that comes from, like, how much of my hair comes from years ago of my grandparents and, like, what they were in, and, like, my great-grandparents. So I don't know why we don't study that, and I guess because I do a lot of ancestral work, like, there is something where we belong to a very natural place. And even though you think it's funny, Jan, to get on an Ironman bike, it's hard, right? Some people can pedal. Some people can't, right? Like, some people can do those physical activities. They come from people who hold on toxins. I mean, there's people in the world that want to release toxins and hold toxins, and if your body goes through trauma, you won't release any of your toxins. So you could be on every cleanse possible, you'll never release any of your toxins, and then you go put more toxins in, and you're just going to harm yourself. And then you have other people who can't hold nutrients. So it is deeper than I think we're making it out to be.
Yes. Well, once again, I just, if we err on the side of caution, you could still get fluoride,
okay,
but I could never take it back out of you if I put it in and it was harmful. And that is a decision as someone representing the people of Yorktown that I'll stand by any day of the week, twice on Sunday, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
So I know there was a comment about underprivileged, people, who want fluoride, but and can't afford bottled water. But I think we make the assumption that underprivileged people want fluoride, and maybe there are underprivileged people that don't want the fluoride in their water and can't afford the bottled water. We have to consider that as well. But I don't want to relitigate this. We had an extensive meeting, several weeks ago. The meeting went pretty late. We heard from the public, and this board made a decision that we were going to sit and wait until something changed in that court case that Ed mentioned. So, I know Susan put an article in the newspaper, and honestly, I don't mind. I'll sit here. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll say it again and again and again. You want me here seven times a month? I'll come 7 times a month. You want me to sit here till 6 o'clock in the morning? I'll sit here till 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm dedicated. But what this kind of stuff does after an extensive and exhaustive meeting where we went through everybody's comments and then we made a decision, what this does is it now tonight it detracts from us doing other critical things. Not that this isn't critical, but we've already addressed this. It's already been addressed. It's already been litigated. We've already voted on it, and since our vote, nothing has changed. And I'll just say that. So I'm not willing to relitigate and do all of that stuff. As far as I think somebody out there said developers come in and we're held hostage. When a developer comes in, I'll speak only for myself. I look at the project. I see if the project has merit, but I also want to see if the developer is going to be a community partner, and it is going to do something for the community, contribute to our community in a positive way, along with their development or as part of their development. Because if they contribute, for example, let's take Navajo, and I haven't decided on it yet, despite what everybody with their crystal balls is saying that I have or haven't. When a developer comes in, I look at it. I say, all right, we really need it. There is a real need for sewers in that area. Okay, let's see what what he wants to bring to the table. This particular one, and let's see if that has merit, if that has value, if that you weigh your options. Whereas there are some developers that don't want to bring anything to the table. They don't want to be true community partners. I look at that kind of a project or any project from that kind of a venue. And many of the projects that we have already approved, they have contributed considerably to some of the issues that we have, some of the infrastructure issues, some of the Parks and Rec issues, in a positive way. Adding value to the project from a town's perspective, saving money from a town's perspective, where we don't have to pay for sewers ourselves. The town has to float the money for the sewers, which we can't do. We can't just possibly go to one area and put sewers in. We would have to start a sewer district, and then that district would have to get the money and have the sewer taxes. That's how that works. As far as the lake goes, it's the same issue. If you look, and I've done extensive work. I've spoken to Ken about. I'm sorry.
It's on all those maps.
I've spoken to Ken about it extensively. Look at Mohegan Lake. Mohegan Lake is not owned by the town. Mohegan Lake, there's an association that cleans that lake, that maintains that lake. The association pays taxes that go for that specific purpose to that lake, right? We can't come in and just say, okay, we're going to take taxpayer money from everybody around town and go into Lake Osceola, because that wouldn't be fair to Lake Mohegan, right? You can't. It doesn't work that way. So I spoke to several people from Mohegan Lake, from Osceola Lake, and I told them, I said, maybe we start an association there. Matter of fact, years and years and years and years ago, from what I understand from my research, there was an association. It goes back a long way. That association is now defunct. So, that's how these things work, and we can't just swoop in and say we're spending everybody's taxpayer money on this one particular section or this one particular lake, especially since the town doesn't really have bearing on that lake. It's part of the community that lives around it. So it's a complicated issue, and when you have a developer that comes in that wants to contribute positively, I think it's in our best interest to consider it. Maybe it doesn't get an approval, maybe it does, but I think it's in our best interest to consider all options and then make a decision based on that. And that's the way I look at that when a developer comes in and wants to do something, and that's basically where I'm at.
Thanks, sir.
On all that. Pat?
Yes.
Susan?
So I'll make my comments kind of quick, and it's about the fluoride. And I support Ed with the pause of the fluoride. I've gotten plenty of emails stating follow the facts, follow the facts, follow the facts. Well, there's a case out in California that started in 2015. They had almost 10 years of discovery, and they had 2 weeks of a trial. I am sure that judge listened to more facts, more data than anybody in this room. And if it was that cut and dry, I don't know why the ADA, the CDC, or the experts that we have here didn't go out there and close the case and get fluoride in the water, And at the end of the day, I ask myself, if fluoride is that beneficial and doesn't have a risk, then how come our state and federal government hasn't mandated it? And it's hard to. There's compelling arguments for both sides, but I don't want to play with unreasonable risk for our kids, and primarily most of the unreasonable risks go with pregnant women and infants under the age of 2. And I want to see the study that has that data with pregnant women and kids under 2. And apparently no one did it, so the judge out in California erred on the side of caution and said it's unreasonable risk. And that's why Ed pulled the plug, and I support Ed's decision on that. So,
Thank you, Pat.
Okay, I'm last. I will try to keep it as brief as possible, but we've touched on a lot of issues. Navajo. Let me just clarify something that you said, Joanne, about from the town board putting it into the overlay to the planning board. There's actually an intermediary step. If the town board votes to expand the boundaries and puts the Navajo property in the Osceola Lake District, then the developer has to come back to the town board and ask for permission to actually get overlay status. And that is something that the board just does by resolution. There's no public hearing, no public input on that. Logic, common sense says that if the board, looking at the current Navajo project, thinks it merits going into the overlay district, logic says it will grant it overlay status in step 2. I mean, no one can predict a vote, but it's logic, okay? And then it goes to the planning board, and the planning board will then review that plan. That plan can do some tweaking if it is so inclined, okay? The septic issue is not just from the properties that border the lake. It's also from all of the houses up the hill, up Perry Street, Wood Street, that are draining down into the lake, and there's absolutely no plan to sewer those districts, all of those homes. I don't know how many there are.
Actually, Susan, I think part of what they were planning were trunks running to those roads.
Yeah.
That if there's an
So
intention.
to go all of those, Osceola Mountain, all of those, I never heard that.
He was going to leave trunk hookups for.
So he's going to go up Perry and
No,
up.
he's not going up, but he would leave hookups. So if we decided, or
To create a new district.
yeah,
Oh, well, so that gets into the whole issue
Of
the
the expense.
complexity of creating a district, okay? And this is an issue that I brought up last week when we started talking about what additional information we need from the developer. And because sewers are the cornerstone, basically, of this development and its rationale for being granted overlay status, that we needed more information about sewers and what the cost impact would be on which property owners, who would be in the district, because while the developer will put the trunk line in and maybe put a stub to a property, there are several thousands of dollars involved in actually hooking up from the stub to where the septic connection is. And in some cases, the ones along the lake, I'm going to make an assumption, could be wrong, that the septic systems might be in the rear of the property, because I don't think many of them have.
They are, and they would need
So the
injection
rear, so
pumps.
that's just.
That's a safe assumption.
Okay, so that's a longer run, because the plumber will cost you by the foot. So we need more information about that. Traffic is obviously an issue, and the information that the developer has provided so far is not adequate. So I sent the town board a memo last week with a list of additional information that I think the town board has to give to the developer and say, in your expanded environmental impacts report, FEAF, you need to provide us with all of this information. And so it's the sewers, it's the septic, it's the condition on Lake Osceola, it's many. But Brian, you asked, what's the benefit? Okay, the town has the perceived benefit of revitalizing some area. That's the rationale, encouraging development and revitalizing something. For the developer's perspective, he gets a tremendous, tremendous increase in density. All right, even if it was rezoned to multifamily, which might be 12 units per acre, here he's getting a much, much higher density, and that's the incentive for the developer. So the issue is, who benefits more, the developer or the town and the community? The issue about the lake, every time the issue has come up, I've heard that nobody knows who owns Lake Osceola. That's all I can say. Nobody knows who owns it. On the land swap, I don't know if some of the people understood what was being swapped. Okay, the Guptas own a piece of property off the extension of Quarry Drive. If anyone, it's basically a parcel. Do you remember how many acres? I'm sorry.
I believe it's 18 acres.
18 acres. It roughly is between Granite Knolls to the north and Sylvan Glen to the south. It's right there in the middle, right? And they would have to come off. There's an easement from the end of Quarry Drive where there are some homes. There's a narrow easement that would get to their property, which basically doesn't have any frontage on Stony Street. So the Guptas want to swap. Town will give you the property we own now, and then in exchange we want a portion of Sylvan Glen. That's what the swap is. And because they want Sylvan Glen, that's parkland, that's alienation. So that's what that's involved. And I think a lot of people have talked. There's significant problems with alienating that property, and I'm glad to hear that you don't seem, you think it's best if the Guptas do what's called as of right. They have that property, they own it, let them develop a plan, their plan, and then go before the planning board, on that. The 485B, I think we need more information. We need an analysis. Clearly, the issue is, do we want to encourage additional new development on vacant properties, or do we want to limit it to the improvements to existing properties, which makes sense to improve what we have and to potentially fill up vacancies, especially if the vacancy is being created because the property just needs to be upgraded. But just to clarify the tax issue, the tax benefit for 485B is a 50% reduction in the value of the improvements. If it's $1 million, if the property is assessed at $1 million now, and they make improvements, and it's going to be assessed at $1.5 million, the tax break, the 50% reduction, is only on that $500,000 addition, and it decreases by 5% each year over 10 years. So that explains that. On the energy issue, the climate sensitive, I have said many times that we need to get going on an RFP to look at the potential of solar on our town properties, whether they're parking lots, rooftops, vacant land, whatever, okay? And we have an existing RFP that didn't work out for multiple reasons. That's past history, but we have a template, and we need to get going on that, which is one reason why I have asked the board at last week's work session that we consider going back to what we used to do and have 4 meetings a month. 2 would be work sessions where we could actually hash out these issues. Doing an RFP doesn't commit us to anything. You mentioned the problems with the roof at the community center. You mentioned that the landmark issue at a previous meeting. Luciana mentioned the type of roof it is.
Yeah, the Dura.
I don't know anything about roofs, but this is something we just have to list properties and let the solar experts come in and say it makes sense on property A, on property X, on property Y, but not X, Y, and Z. That's all we need to do, and then we sit and negotiate.
And I do know we started on that, and I'm really grateful for it. Thank you.
Yeah, and now I'd like to make sure that we get that 4th meeting a month so we can get some of these things moving. And now, as you said, Supervisor Lachterman, to the elephant in the room, since a lot of the comments were directed at me. All right. I kind of assumed that there would be some comments, so I took the liberty of kind of drafting a statement, which I will edit and keep short.
3 pages, Susan?
No, not 3 pages. All right.
3 is 3.5.
For me, the issue has been science, facts and science, and I am not satisfied that those issues have been satisfactorily addressed. Now, I know board members disagree with me, and because of that, I believe you owe it to the residents to list all of the public health professionals that you have consulted with their credentials, both before and after the October 15th hearing. Also, I'd like you to identify or ask for the credentials and the sources of information for those who spoke against fluoridation at the town board meetings, and also with anyone else you've consulted who's against it. We're talking about where this board gets its information from. Does it get it from medical doctors, from deans of medical schools, or does it get it from somebody who comes up here and just makes a statement and doesn't identify what credentials they have to be making public health officials? And that's
what about the judge?
Patrick, I'll reply.
All right,
afterwards.
okay. So I would like, if the town board thinks it's done an adequate job in consulting with these people, I'd like to know the names and the sources of information and their credentials, because credentials are important. Again, some board members have also said that they've reviewed studies surrounding fluoridation. Again, I asked board members to identify what studies they reviewed, both the initial study and any peer-reviewed critiques of those studies, because that's how science works. Studies need to be peer-reviewed before their findings and conclusions are accepted by other professionals in the field. For example, at different times, the board has cited the Harvard and Canada studies, but did they also review the studies that cited flaws in those studies? Have the board members reviewed the studies done in the United States that use 0.7 milligrams per liter dosage used in Yorktown? Or are they only considering studies done in other countries like China, India, and Pakistan that relied on much higher dosage? The issue, as was said earlier at this meeting, the issue is dosage. Like other health interventions, the issue is at what dosage do the benefits outweigh any possible side effects? And regarding dosage, did board members consider the statement in the National Toxicology Report? That was the report that the San Francisco judge based his decision on. The report was the basis of his decision. That report stated, and I quote, "It is important to note that there were insufficient data to determine if the low fluoride level of 0.7 milligrams per liter currently recommended for U.S. community water supplies has a negative impact on children's IQ." In other words, there was no proof. There was absolutely no proof that the level of fluoride usage in Yorktown resulted in lower IQs. Board members have also cited the Cochrane Library, but the Cochrane Library only looked at the extent to which fluoridation reduced cavities. It never studied the issue that is front and center in Yorktown, again, the issue of children's IQ. Did board members ever reach out to local dentists? As for the issue of IQ, did they ever reach out to professionals who administer and interpret IQ tests? There's a lot of literature that questioned the validity of how IQ is measured in some of those studies. Did board members look at studies of what happened in communities that stopped fluoridation? The board's decision to end fluoridation was based on its concern not to do any harm to children's IQ. I have no problem with that. It's a very admirable concern. But it's not scientifically accepted that fluoride creates that IQ problem. To date, there's no generally accepted scientific evidence that fluoridation used by pregnant women will reduce the IQ in their children. There are just flawed studies and studies that aren't relevant to Yorktown, and that was the basis of the judge's decision. He looked at other studies. In contrast, there's considerable evidence that dental cavities and untreated dental issues lead to serious medical complications. There are hundreds of studies appearing in medical and dental journals showing a relationship between inflamed gums and chronic medical conditions, making conditions such as coronary artery disease, diabetes, rheumatoid conditions worse. Any chronic inflammatory medical condition is impacted negatively. And as for children, tooth decay remains the most common chronic childhood disease, 5 times more prevalent than asthma. So if the board is committed to doing no harm, an admirable, very admirable goal, then it needs to turn fluoridation back on and wait for more conclusive peer-reviewed scientific studies of any possible harm for all age groups. I would call people's attention to today's New York Times that had an article. I would call it a very balanced
Susan,
article.
speak into the mic, please.
A very balanced article, just the way the CNN report was, I thought, was very balanced, okay? It talks about the studies pro-fluoride and anti-fluoride. So I urge people to read it, and if they need a link to the New York Times, I will give that to them. One of the reasons I would not accept that book is because I think it's probably a polemic, and it's not based on science, and it's not.
It's from a doctor, though, and it's the 8th edition, and it's the 29th version printed.
You know,
which means what I would like to say is it might not be everything, but the fact that they kept studying it and revising it, studying it, revising it, it's kind of like why we are where we are in the world today.
Oh, okay. I don't want to get into that, but just because it says DR period doesn't.
But I feel like
it
I
says
feel like,
DDS.
Yes, and I
Stop.
also feel like all the doctors and the dentists that we
just
provide,
hold on a
we're
second.
not as valuable as your doctors and dentists.
So just let me make.
Okay, yeah. What? Just a second. And what? And
We're
there's-
having a
and there's-
conversation.
There's
I'm
one.
not
There's
picking. Please keep your comments.
there's one final point. Okay. It's been said that let's wait for the EPA to study, which is basically what the judge said. The judge did not ban fluoride. The judge said EPA just has to do more studies and possibly adjust some regulations. And the regulations could be at one end of the spectrum, a warning label, or it could be a ban. There's a wide range of what it could do. That was in September. Without getting political, so the last thing I want to do here, things have changed things will change in Washington as of January 20th. And I think there's a likelihood that there will be changes at the EPA and a likelihood that they will not continue to study fluoridation, okay? So we'd be waiting and waiting and waiting, and nothing will happen because there will not be any more studies from EPA. Hopefully, the community, the public health community, will do more studies because issues have arisen. Science is not finite. Science changes. Science evolves as new information becomes available. So I am open to new studies. Okay, all I am saying now is that the benefits outweigh any potential harm. And so fluoridation should be continued until we have more peer-reviewed, accepted scientific studies that follow the scientific method, okay, that show that there is more harm at fluoride at 0.7. Thank you.
Make it quick.
Okay. So I will, thank you, Susan. And I will say on two things. I know that the assumption is that if I vote to allow the property into the overlay, Navajo into the overlay district, then I'm going to allow or vote positively to push it to move it to the planning board. These assumptions I say again and again and again. I think people should be careful because I voted to expand the tax cap, but I voted against the tax increase, right? So one would follow logically. I think the term was used that if you vote for one, you're going to vote for the other. As a matter of fact, it was in some trash newspaper from Yonkers that said something like that about me anyway. But anyway, I didn't do that because I take everything, individually, and I try to make a well-informed and educated decision. I know that you said, what the board should do and what the board should do, and has the board done this, and has the board reviewed this. What the board members did was vote, and it's time to accept the decision and move forward so we can address other critical issues. We already voted on the fluoride issue. We've already litigated that. And now what the board did is we all voted together. It didn't go according to how you would have liked the vote to have gone, but I think we need to accept that and move on because we've spent a lot of time tonight on the fluoride issue, which we've already spent a lot of time on, a ton of time on. And, I know you keep bringing up these other critical issues, but time spent here is less time spent there. And if we've already addressed these things and I've heard the same comments that we've all made on a previous night where we were here very late. So I think we need to accept the board's decision and move on to other critical issues and not relitigate the same thing because otherwise we're never really, it breeds stagnation. Now I appreciate all the comments from the people. I sat here, I listened, and I take everything in. But, we've already done this, and there are so many other things that we could be talking about than something that we've already decided. And if we hadn't decided that already, fine, I would say let's talk about it. But this has already been done. I'm hearing the same comments over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And the board did vote in public officially. And it's time we accept that and move on. Ed?
Can I just ask?
I think Ed had a comment.
Go on, Susan.
This is a question. I don't know if Adam can answer. I don't have a copy with me of the October 22nd resolution. That was your resolution after the public hearing.
That was our resolution.
Yeah, the board's resolution. My recollection of that, and again, I could be wrong, is that it said it is the board's intent to terminate fluoridation on January 21st. Does that sound reasonable? You know, I don't remember the exact language. So my understanding was that you needed a follow-up resolution to actually say we are terminating fluoridation.
No, you give your notice of intent and you terminate after the 90 days.
So did you need? I don't know whether you needed another resolution. That's
Not that I'm aware of.
okay. That was my understanding. To your point, Sergio, about moving on, there have been several times where the board has realized that it wanted to change its mind, whether it made a mistake in the original resolution or just new factors came up, okay? So just because you voted once doesn't mean you can't change your mind.
And I understand that, and I think in the resolution it says we're waiting on the decision from the court case and the EPA's response, which hasn't happened yet. That's what the resolution said. And so at that point, because of that's how we voted, then we would reconsider based on what the resolution said. So, and that hasn't happened yet. So you're absolutely right. When there's new information, the board has done that in the past. We haven't seen any new information from that specific issue that we referenced and based on decision on. So I agree with you. And when that happens, I believe it says it in the resolution that we will revisit it. That has not happened yet. And we have other critical issues. And we also need to be mindful and respectful of the constituents' time. So that's all I'm saying. I see you're very passionate about it. You know, I agree with you. You know, you're fighting for your cause. We've already decided that, and if we had nothing else to do, I would talk about it all night long. But we do have, to your own, you know, admission, a lot of things that we need to address. And that's all I'm saying. You know, and I get it. And when there's more information, as it says in the resolution that we all voted on, we'll reconsider.
All right,
That's
so,
what it says. Ed.
So just, you know, and Myra, I know you feel this is a part of government that you should see all the time. Open conversation. People, that's okay. People
Please, please,
people
no
being able to
comments from
talk.
the audience.
Thank you, yes, thank you, Susan. And Susan knows. Susan has no problem talking about a situation she's very passionate about, as anyone on this board, and that's why we're here. And we, you know, the end of the night, you make the decisions that you could put your head down on the pillow and go to sleep with a clean conscience. And sometimes they're not gonna meld, and that's fine. That's what this is all about. I do also have a New York Times article. This was sent to me by Dr. Mitchell Kahn, who, by the way, he's a dentist in town, who is pro-fluoride. So just to say, but he sent me this article, and it is pro-fluoride, but there's a better way to talk about fluoride, vaccines, and raw milk. And it really you saw that one. Yeah, it was. I found it very interesting because the more the government tries to, no pun intended, shove fluoride down our throats, the more pushback there is on it. And we've, you know, people say, oh, can't you trust the EPA? Can't you trust FDA? And you know, with everything that just happened, where we had like CDC and NIH admitting they were making things up as they were going along with COVID, like the 6 feet. Look, I understand.
We have science on COVID. We didn't know about what COVID was.
But to make it up and then later on tell you. But that's what this article is about. Don't play with the facts. Don't say, you know, this is 100% positive. Go with the information on both sides of the coin, which is what this is about.
Which is what today's Times says.
Okay, I'll send that to me, please. And then the other issue that, you know, and I told you this, I felt your ad was very disingenuous because some of you in the room I know remember our first go around. Guess what we did? We restarted fluoride. We started it back up, following the science, but under the stipulation saying that if the EPA court case came back with an issue, we would re-examine it. Now, I didn't think we'd see what we saw. But once again, I can't put fluoride in a kid or in a pregnant mom and take it out in the end. And let me just finish, and then we need to move on. But the bottom line is, I will err on the side of caution. If the public feels that that is not the way to go, utilize your vote in November and say, hey, I don't agree with that, and I want to go a different way. And that's fine. I'll live with that. I make the decisions not politically, because I know it was pointed, someone was like, oh, well, you knew Robert Kennedy was going to. We did this in October.
And he just came up with
We did this.
Nothing to do with
right,
him.
exactly. So this was not about politics of the matter. This was not about the comments that were coming pro or against, because we actually moved the other way. And you're right where you said people could change their mind, because as soon as that other information hit, I said, okay, let's do an emergency pause, because we need to reset and see where this goes. So I think that as a board, we have listened, we have dedicated the time, and I know there are a lot of important things, but apparently the passion in this issue is important as well to our town. So it's worth doing.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, Susan, you just mentioned something really valuable. They're not saying it's safe. They're not saying I'm signing over my social security number and I know this is safe. They're not saying, you just said the same thing.
No.
Was that it's being out there and it's being explored and they're finding out more and they're doing their research. And in fact, you said you had the fear that because of what's going on, quote unquote, maybe politically out there, they might stop doing their research on it. But the thing is, it's not safe, is what they're saying. I want you to hear. You're not saying, are you saying to me that you have people that are saying in these big federations, right, that it's safe, or are you not reading exactly what we're reading, that they're still mulling how it was 1 point blank and now it's 0.7 and they're mulling over? So you want us to ride the wave as they explore. I mean, I'm hearing from clients and people coming to me going, do you think there's going to be lawsuits on all these semi-glutides as people go on to these vaccines? What's going to happen because there hasn't been enough? So my thing is, well, if your doctor said it's safe, then you should take it if that's what yours is. They're not saying it's safe to take it. They're saying it's not safe. We don't know what's safe. So why would we keep it on until they had more information?
They're not saying it's not safe. There are 75 years of studies that show fluoride is safe and it has benefits. That is not disputed. What has and over time, as people had the fluoride in the toothpaste and other things, the public health community has reduced its recommendation on the amount of fluoride to add. Yorktown's code, which was done in 1965, said not to exceed 1.5. So it might have started at that. I wasn't around. I didn't know what was done. But the recommendation many, many years ago was to reduce it to 0.7. What I'm saying is that there are 75 years of peer-reviewed accepted scientific studies that follow accepted scientific protocols that say fluoride is safe and the benefits outweigh any potential harm. The new studies that show, and the latest one, I mean, there have been studies about fluoride creating diseases from A to Z, all right? But the latest one, and the one that got the attention of the court, okay, and got the attention of this board, is the IQ study. That is based on the National Toxicology Program's report that was at more than double the level of fluoride and in other countries, and did not do any of the what's called co-founders or the variables. So all I'm saying
the
is
fluoride change is poison.
Ladies, please.
Fluoride is not a poison.
Okay, so I'll
And
just.
all I'm saying is you did not do an adequate job of looking at the science on both sides. That is the crux
I
of
didn't
my.
tell you that you didn't do an adequate job about looking at the science. You're not going to tell me that I didn't do an
I
adequate job.
don't
Hold on
think
one
this
second.
board. That's why I said show
All
me
right,
all
ladies,
the
Hold on,
Ladies.
Ed, let me just say one thing. They did 10 years of discovery, and in 2 weeks in a trial. That's more. I'm telling you right now, it's more than you put into fluoride, and. They had experts. If you're experts, why come they didn't fly out there and dismiss it? That's the
it's
science.
It's
It's always an
one
excuse.
judge who
Okay.
made the decision, okay?
And he was appointed by Obama.
I had no.
Okay.
All right, guys
Well,
and girls.
let's go on
Please,
to other
please.
things, please.
You know, but if you want to talk about the FDA, look at what they're doing with food coloring right now. For all these years that it was, oh, it's great, it's great, it's great, and now they're looking to remove it. Science changes, and you know, you could follow. Someone brought up the point about the people working for the drug companies and all. The world sucks sometimes. It really does. People are dishonest. They work to make their payday, and I think that we could litigate this 9 ways to Sunday today, and we're going to come up with the same answers. So when we see
Just can I
something-
end on a positive note? Most of the people in this audience are probably too young to remember the thalidomide problem. Any of the old timers remember that? When it was widely used in Europe, and we had one doctor at the FDA who said, I don't know, I've got some questions about this. And she was getting a hell of a lot of flack about delaying the approval until they found out in Europe that it caused children to be born without limbs. All right? That's the FDA, and that's the science, and that was a very persistent doctor who saved hundreds, thousands of lives of children, okay, because of thalidomide. And I have an article in the paper, the EPA is just banning some chemicals. The EPA does its job. They either ban or they put warnings on it. on
But
things.
sometimes it takes a long time to come to that realization.
Or there are other scientific, there are other
Susan,
public health
yes,
studies.
I
Thank you.
understand.
Remember
I will
thalidomide.
err on the side of caution. I know the board, for a majority, agrees. And as I said, there's election time to change.
Okay.
All right.
Before we go to resolutions and everybody leaves, happy holidays, everybody.
All right, well,
Please stay for the resolutions.
First, we have public hearing. We have a decision to consider the MS4 stormwater management permit and tree removal permit application submitted by Pani Industry, Inc. for property located at 2991 Hickory Street.
Unfortunately, one of the conditions was not a condition that I thought we discussed and I thought we agreed on last week, that he had to have a tree mitigation plan, and it's not included in this resolution. So if you want to pass it tonight, I would say you have to add a sentence on page 2, conditions that must be met prior to the supervisor signing the plat.
Here's Dan to...
I can address that.
Thank you, Dan.
In the resolution, we reference meeting all the conditions of the review memorandum. So the tree advisory committee is one of those memos.
And there's something else on it too, right?
Where is that? Which line, Dan?
On page 1, Tree Conservation Advisory Commission, the memorandum we received, and then it goes on that on page 2, the second paragraph goes on to say, the following plans and documents are approved subject to the memoranda listed above and the below listed conditions.
Yeah, but there's nothing, but
It's built into the
you
review
don't have a
memos.
memorandum from the tree conservation group.
It's cited.
No, but if
in
they
the
haven't
recitals.
if they haven't discussed a mitigation plan with the developer, there's
They have to
nothing there.
satisfy the memo. It's by
It
reference.
says they have to go and do that.
No, refer the application to, you say whereas on page 1, whereas the town board referred the application to the involved boards and agencies, and you list Conservation and Tree Commission. So it was referred to them. Okay, but they didn't.
They provided a memo requesting.
Yeah, and the memo from the Conservation Board said we need a tree mitigation plan.
Right.
Well, that hasn't come.
It's subject to.
Where does it say subject to? Where does it say subject to?
That all these conditions need to be met before the town supervisor can sign the permit.
So which condition covers that? Tell me which condition. What am I misreading? What am I missing?
Conservation Board.
No, where?
Whereas the town board referred the application
No.
of all boards and agencies and received and considered the
Go back
following
one page.
memoranda. Planning
That's-
Board,
that's-
Conservation Board, and Conservation Board said, we need a tree permit.
Yeah, that's all it
We need a
said.
tree plan. Right, and
But
so
there's
that
no-
has to be,
There's no tree. There's no
all right,
tree
I'll tell you what,
mitigation
Dan,
Well,
plan.
Dan.
but you
And
know
the
what? This
commission.
goes to the point which I think we need to discuss next year. I shouldn't be bringing single-family homes before this board. That I think that.
Okay,
they
we can
really should
discuss
be
that
dealt
next
with
year, but do me a favor,
administratively.
can we add the line into this?
As a
that the tree
condition that
mitigation
must be
plan
met
needs to be
prior
met?
to the supervisor signing the plans, A tree mitigation plan must be approved by the tree commission, the tree conservation.
It also says the Tree Conservation
And the conservation board.
The
It's on
Conservation
there.
Board said do a tree mitigation plan.
All right.
It's on there already.
But
Dan,
it
just
has to
add
be,
the line.
it has
yeah,
to be
no, it's fine.
reviewed, it has to be
Well,
reviewed by them.
Yes, Susan, we're gonna add the line.
Tell me the exact, I want to see the exact words.
That a tree mitigation plan will be provided to the satisfaction of the Tree Advisory Commission.
Okay, and that's in the section of the supervisor prior to signing the plans.
Right.
Okay.
The developer has to take the initiative to go before the Conservation Board and the Tree Commission. When he came to the Tree Commission,
We're not getting them out of this.
he said, tell me what you want me to do. He had to come with some ideas. He played, I'm sorry, but he played dumb, okay? He's been around Yorktown for a while, and he should have known,
Well-
and he had the code, and he can read the code.
Objective, there were no public comments. We want to get this off the board's plate, and we'll see to it that he does everything that any of the review memos required, including the memo from my department.
Make sure, I'm only voting for this.
Yeah, no.
With the understanding that that will be in the resolution.
Susan, we all want the tree mitigation plan.
And it's a belt and suspenders. It's
All right.
built in there. We'll add
All right.
another
He said it already
paragraph
twice.
to address it.
So can we, have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
Motion passes. Resolutions from the clerk's office. Advertise a town board meeting for Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. From the engineering department, authorize the town clerk to advertise bid for various chemicals for the water pollution control plant. From the finance department, authorize the supervisor to sign agreement with the town's insurance broker, Arthur J. Gallagher and Company, for 2025 insurance coverage in an amount not to exceed $1 million. Folks, please. Thank you. $1,004,882.21. From the highway department, authorize the comptroller to release the following tie-into town drainage permit number 23004 for the highway department in the amount of $1,000. Authorize a bid for the monthly rental of 2 Horizon Signal temporary traffic lights. That's over by the road that's out. Old Compound, I believe that is.
Yeah.
From the Human Resource Office, authorize the following employee to carry accrued 2024 vacation time for the use in 2025, and there's just one, Michelle Diaco, for 7 hours for carryover. From the Parks and Recreation Department, authorize the town clerk to advertise bid for transportation services for camp buses. From the police department, authorize the comptroller to process the following budget transfer for the police department, and that's from medical insurance and being put into police equipment. From the town attorney's office.
You're going to hold off on that point.
Okay, that one.
Okay,
that's
hold on,
one.
we'll get back to that
Sure.
one later.
Yeah, you said that.
She wants to hold off on
I
the.
want to hold the sign one.
Authorize the supervisor to execute a collective bargain agreement with CSEA through December 31st of 2027. Authorize the supervisor to execute a collective bargaining agreement with the Superior Officers Benevolent Association through December 31st, 2027. Authorize the supervisor to execute a collective bargaining agreement with the Police Benevolent Association through December 31st, 2027. And I just want to thank all of the union reps. It was really a lot of negotiation, and I thank my team of Janelle, Tracy, and Adam. There was a lot of hard work put into that, but the fact that all three look like they're going to be settled, voted on, accepted, is really a good thing for the town, and we do want to make sure that our town services are really able to move forward.
Can I just add that I think that the key thing that the public would be interested in knowing is that it's a 3-year contract with a 3% raise in salary for every
For
each year.
Mhm. Which is on par with what all of the other local communities have been doing for their people. From the Water Department, authorize the Water District to purchase one M400B2 base station transmitter and extended warranty for a cost of $49,000, $49,063.94. Authorize the controller to process the following budget transfer for the Water Department, and we are going from water medical insurance into water maintenance repair of roads. And authorize the Parks Department to auction off equipment that is obsolete through Absolute Auctions. And this is well, we got our money's worth out of this. A 1992 36-inch Skag walk-behind mower.
Pretty cool.
Depending
It's
on
so
when it was
quirky.
bought, it might be older than my marriage. Can I have a motion on those?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the one we held back.
Yeah, the only question I have, I understand why the Yorktown Chamber is merging with Hudson Valley. That's not an issue for this town board to decide. But I am concerned that the resolution gives the digital sign to the Hudson Valley Chamber. And I am concerned in terms of how Yorktown can monitor its use, because that's always been to highlight Yorktown issues, Yorktown businesses, Yorktown public notices. I don't think it should be used to
Actually,
to
Susan.
have a Peekskill business or something.
Actually, Susan, there have been Peekskill businesses on it. If I am not mistaken, and Aaron could help me out, the sign is owned by the chamber.
That's correct.
They do not consult with us and have never consulted with us on what goes on the board because it's privately owned.
Yeah, all this is just assigning the agreements that are already in place to,
Right.
Hudson Valley.
But we have no control. The point is, we have no control, nor should we have control over what the chamber puts on their board, as long as it is wholesome.
Well, the agreement requires them to not put any political.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Religious.
When we put the sign in, anybody could advertise on the sign as long as it wasn't any political or stuff like that. And the town had full rights to advertise what they wanted at no charge, and that was the agreement. Secondly, I think there's a flaw here because it's not on town property, right, Aaron? We have an agreement with
Triangle.
with Triangle,
Right.
and it's actually on their property, and so I don't know what this is addressing because
There's two agreements here. There's one that the town has with Triangle Shopping Center because the town used to maintain a static sign on that site of its own. Then when we came in with the electric sign, the LED sign, as you well know,
yeah,
we needed permission from the town to use the spot. So that's what is continuing. It's just going to be assigned to a different entity. That's all. It's
I don't recall that, but that's fine. I mean,
yeah. I gave Adam both agreements.
Oh, you did? Okay, great,
So
fantastic.
they're both in there in the material, or they're available. I can
And-
send
and
them.
This
so-
is just
and
a
so- and s-
ministerial guy. This is a ministerial thing.
Yeah.
It's just
So to address Susan's concern, a business in Peekskill, a business in Briarcliff, a business in Manhattan was always able to buy
Advertise.
time and advertise, as
Did
long as
they?
the
Yeah,
well,
Susan,
didn't they?
nothing's
I don't-
changing.
I don't know if they ever have, but
I-
you were always able to.
Nothing's changing.
nothing's changing.
I'm just
Aaron, are they also
concerned.
gonna clean up
I'm
that
just.
area?
They'll maintain it.
They'll
They'll
maintain
take
it,
the
yeah.
same obligation. Yes.
I'm just. I mean, I don't
and
look at
they
this.
have to. It's the agreement will be assigned, and they have
It's
to.
the same
comply with all-
obligation. It's just
Yep.
moving on.
I don't look at the sign every day, so I can't tell you exactly what was on for the last 3 weeks. But my gut says that the signs have always been about businesses that serve Yorktown. Okay, and the sign is in Yorktown. It's in the entrance to our hamlet. I don't want to see a sign advertising a business that's in Peekskill or Portland.
Businesses are not only serving Yorktown. The businesses are members of the Yorktown Chamber of Commerce. Sergio can attest to this better than anyone, I think.
Businesses won't pay if they're not going to be serving Yorktown. There's no advantage for them.
Correct.
Well,
Actually,
yeah,
Jan, since you're a member of the Hudson Valley Gateway, why don't you join Aaron up at the, thank you.
I also am a board member of the Gateway Gateway Chamber, and I was a member of the merger committee, so. But just as a practical matter, there's no business advantage to paying to advertise or to sponsor where your ad or whatever would be showing on that ad if you're not serving
The
people
Yorktown
who are coming
community.
through that intersection, and you're not serving Yorktown. So if your concern is, why would we be promoting Peekskill or Manhattan businesses at the intersection of, 202 and 35, as a business owner, you wouldn't. You're only going to take advantage of signage in that location if you're serving that community.
If you're taking business away from a Yorktown resident to tell them to go to this great Peekskill restaurant.
Can I, well, if they're members of the chamber, that's what it is, but I'll use a great example, in my opinion. New York Hudson Valley Presbyterian Hospital. They are top sponsors in the chamber. They are located in Peekskill. We have Mount Kisco at an equal distance from where we're sitting right now. Is it fair to Mount Kisco Hospital that Hudson Valley Peekskill, or Hudson Valley New York Presbyterian wants to invest money into the town? They come in, they sponsor different events. They sponsor our senior advisory committee lunches. They bring doctors in. They service the residents of Yorktown. And the bottom line is, from the chamber point of view, that's what they're looking for.
That's right.
Because I sat on the board as well. And you want businesses that want to invest in your community. Sometimes it's not their physical space, but I love the fact that people say, Yorktown is a place I want to be and advertise and serve in that community. Whether it's a plumber, and every plumber has the, if Peekskill Plumbing wants to join the chamber and Yorktown Plumbing wants to join the chamber, there's no discrimination. And if they want to take out an ad, both take out ads, there's no discrimination. And it's what business is all about.
The fact of the matter is, the Yorktown Chamber has members from Peekskill, from Cortland, from other communities already as members, which give them the right to advertise there anyway. So, again, as Aaron and others have said, there's absolutely no change in who's eligible and how and why they would be advertising there.
And it would be also a discussion they would have with Hudson Valley, I would assume. Like, if I have an office on 23rd Street, I have an office up here. If I want to put it up there, and
you become a member, you're
there are a
eligible
lot of
for
people
that
that work in
benefit.
the city that might want to see me in the
You
city
don't,
office.
you
but
don't,
if
you don't
here-
even have to be a member. You could advertise for
fee.
a higher fee.
Yeah.
That was our fee structure.
And
But Susan makes a good point, and I understand where you're coming from. You know.
I want to promote York. The other point that you made, Sergio, and I remember this from when the sign was first installed, was that it could be used for town purposes. And over the years, I don't remember the town really putting notices up, like voter registration drives, for example.
I always used to put that up when I was manager.
Well, so how do we do that, and will we still have the same access and go through the executive committee because it has a staff?
Whatever's in the agreements stays in the agreement. So we had never an issue with giving the town priority if they needed notice, and that can continue.
I think the town should use that sign more.
Well, that's a different.
That's a different issue. That's a different issue. but I think we
Let's
should
stay on the.
use sign
Let's stay
more.
on the.
All right.
on this.
I'd like to move
Thank you
forward.
for
Thank
addressing
you.
that.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Aaron.
And Aaron, thank you. All right, so authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement of the arrangement between the Town of Yorktown Chamber of Commerce to the Hudson Valley Chamber of Commerce. Motion?
Motion.
Second from Susan. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And
Thanks for
then,
hanging out with us, Aaron.
and then,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy
Thank you for
holidays.
hanging out. And Ken, thank you for all you do. I had that in my notes, but we appreciate that.